That's when we really choose the president, everybody. That's ever since 20. What did they announce it last year? It was like days. Wasn't it like a couple weeks or some shit?
Yeah, yeah. I
How long ago was it after last year? So like it was like a week before it was
Was it a
like announced.
week?
It felt
I
close to that.
don't, it felt like more that we certainly fell asleep the day of, and then like we didn't know who was the president yet. And
Mhm.
then
It was definitely days. I know that for a fact.
yeah, because I remember like obviously the Addy Weirich like car thing, and like it was in the middle of the day, and that lasted all day. But I don't know, like um, I guess we'll never know. Anyways, let's
Yeah.
start there. There's no way we could ever know this fact about the world. Like there's nothing we could do. So I guess we'll just like sit here and
We just
not
got to
know.
sit there and wonder. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never know.
Well, on that note, let's start the episode. Click.
Oh yeah.
Remember that record that you bought me like 2 years ago? Well, I just remembered that it's sitting in the closet. So I called you up just to tell you I've been meaning to listen to that. I've been meaning to listen to that. Why don't you come over and talk about it? Ooh, ooh. Why don't you come over and talk about it?
Meantime, but everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to I've been meaning to listen to that, the podcast where we go through albums we've been meaning to listen to and use as a conduit to learn about each other and our guests. I'm Andrew Ambrose Lee.
I'm Stanley Philippe.
And I'm John Butts.
And this is fantastic. He's a five-timer guest. You might know him from Culture Kings, from Comedy Bang Bang, from Dropout, from Comedian Feud. It's Jacquis Neal. Boop, boop,
Oh, hello, hello,
Hey.
boop.
hello, hello. I wonder, is there anybody actually out there that still remembers me from Culture Kings?
I
Me.
do. Yeah.
I
Me.
wonder. I love it. I love it. We talked about doing it again recently. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we talked about it. We kicked the can around. Like,
Mhm.
should we come back just and I will say this,
Mhm.
if we ever do come back, because when we were kicking the can around, we was like, this is the only way we'll do it. We will not announce it. We will
Yeah.
literally just drop an episode.
You should do it. Yeah.
Like, we'll just drop a fucking episode and start weekly episodes or some shit, and then go away again. And
I
now
love
that
that.
we will be the most obnoxious
Mhm.
uh with it. But I think that would be funny. It would be fun. But yeah, man.
Hey, we
Dope shit.
love
Appreciate
Jacquis.
y'all having me, man.
Of course, of course. Uh, J Z Quais Neal over here. I
Ooh,
don't know.
it worked. It worked.
Yeah, I've been
Don't
hosting the
let them
show
tell you
for
it didn't
like
work.
I've been hosting the show for 5+ years. Like I've gotten really good at like quippy quips and such. Like my confidence is up and all that. But yeah, like Chiquise, we're
What's
here to
up?
talk about the Black Album. Jay-Z's The Black Album. What you were super game to talk about this. You were like,
Hmm.
you're obviously a huge Jay-Z fan. We've talked about this very extensively of why you think he's the GOAT, why you think he's the number one, primarily because of the large career and the breadth of his work. I don't know. Like for those who might have not heard, what is your relationship to Jay-Z?
Yeah, man. Jay, everything you just said, I agree with. I still think he's the GOAT. Jay-Z was my first ever album that I bought, CD, that I bought for myself, volume three. So yeah, I've been rocking with Jay from the very beginning, man. And yeah, I think he has done a good job as far as hip hop goes, because hip hop is still a very young like genre in music, only 50-ish years old, like 51 years old now. And he's done such a good job to me in being like the one of the first people in hip hop that you can say like, oh, like how old rock and roll heads are, like they're still like ambassadors for like rock and roll, and they can still come out and like new eras can find their music and like enjoy it and shit like that. Like Jay-Z is like one of those first. hip hop artist with the amount of work that he's had. Like people can still listen to Pac and Outkast and all those people, but like Jay like has had like a he's grown up in hip hop. Like even like we talked about we did the Blueprint last time, right? And he had like the line in there where he used like a homophobic slur. He used the F word. And I think to like Jay-Z in when 444 came out. And I'm like, that Jay-Z would never do that. Right? Like he would never do not just because like hip hop has changed and stuff like that, but like that album was such like a growth experience for Jay. It was like, oh, this is not the same Jay that like was selling cocaine and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, this dude is a family man who walks with like suburban dads, but he still came from like, like the hood and shit. And I feel like we haven't had a chance to see a hip hop artist do that, like in our life, because either they died or they started acting like LL Cool J or Will Smith or something like that. Or, they just fell the fuck off. They didn't have longevity. So like we haven't had like a hip hop Andre 3000 is like the closest one, but he just started making music again and it wasn't even rapping. But his evolution was also something that was pretty dope in that way. So like, yeah, man, my relationship with him is like he is, I'm gonna say something big. I think he is like not only the GOAT in hip hop, he is literally like the Michael Jordan. He is the one that moved hip hop
Wow.
like to its next era where like we may get a LeBron James who may become like better or whatever, but like you don't get like the NBA today without Jordan's contribution. You don't get hip hop today without Jay-Z's contribution. And I don't think there's like there's maybe three other people, if that, and I'm being generous, that you could say that about.
Little fun fact, he recorded volume 3 of A Cold. So it's very interesting.
With a cold.
So we
Dude,
got this studio time, so
I love it because he back then, bro. Back then, that nigga used to fucking record albums in 2 days because he wouldn't write. He would just get in there, get some beats, like freestyle. He still doesn't write, I don't think, but he would just freestyle. He would record albums in 2, 3 days, a week, and like just put out like classics, bro.
the epitome
Like,
of like don't overthink it, just do it.
yeah, it's tight. It's tight.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously like he's a descendant of Biggie who did the same thing.
Hmm.
He didn't like and there's like a lack of pretentiousness to the writing, to the delivery and stuff like that. He never uses huge words or like he doesn't like he says it in this album. He's not animated like Busta Rhymes or Eminem really in that way, like the wordsmithy sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, so he's like a rap oracle, like rap just pulsates through him, and like rap is the purpose he's on. I imagine now he's like made the pivot like a lot of NBA stars do of like mogul and ownership and
Oh
like
yeah.
all the behind the scenes thing. But for a long time, he was just like I would describe Biggie the same way of just like, oh, his purpose on earth is to rap and to do like just like rap oozes out of his pores. But now like Jay's after he passed, like Jay-Z was that for like a long, long time.
Yeah. I do. I mean, yeah, I think his purpose was a little bit. I do. I think I would slightly disagree with his purpose is to rap, not because I think that's a bad thing, but like I don't know, man. Jay been telling us from the beginning, like I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, like I even think back in '97 when Reasonable Doubt came out in '96, like we was rocking Rockaware,
Right.
like. There were other hip hop brands, but not from a label.
Yeah, the idea
Like,
of them being like independent itself
yeah,
was like
it,
unique in its
it was
time.
unique, and like Bad Boys had that, and then like NWA and Interscope, and like they all had like they. I'm not saying Jay was the first hip hop label, like it was not at all, but like the stuff they did from the very beginning was like, no, we're
Hmm.
not just rappers. Like we gonna have clothing, we gonna have this, we gonna have that, like. I think he's been telling us from the beginning, like, no, I've always been more than a rapper. Like, rappers just like I'm a businessman. Like if it wasn't gonna be rap, it was gonna be crack. Like
Right.
or cocaine. Like,
He said, "I make
because
40 off a brick, but one rhyme could beat
well,
that."
one
Like,
yeah, like that's a businessman, bro. Like that's a businessman right there. So I think he's been that from the very beginning, which is unique because like most businessmen aren't usually the ones behind the mic. They're
Mhm.
usually, I know, it's not good to talk about him now, but like the Suge Knight sort of Sean Combs back in the day, like yeah, they may get in front of the mic or whatever, but like they're usually like behind the scenes, like. But Jay was like, "No, I'm in front of the mic and I'm behind the mic, like I'm doing it all, bro." Like I think it
Mhm.
was like a really dope. And Dr. Dre was kind of that way. It was in that same realm as well. So like we can get deep. We can get deep with it. But I think
Yeah, let's get deep with it. Yeah.
Jay's been a businessman even before we knew who Jay-Z was. And I think which
Mm.
is why he jumps from shit to shit. Like he was the president of Def Jam and was like, I'm bored. Bye. Like, that's
Mhm.
crazy, bro. Like, that's crazy as hell. Like, he had title and was like, all right, bye. And we can get into like other aspects of the business dealings and stuff like that. But like he keeps doing all these things that no other artist has done and then being done with them,
Mhm.
like, and moving on, which is very unique. You don't see too many stars. Like Rihanna didn't like start Fenty and then was like, all right, I'm bored. Bye. Like once they find something that like they can have their hands in and like expand, they generally stay there. And they may have other business ventures, but dude just leaves shit in the dust. Like I'm fucking done with it. It's kind of crazy and exhausting, but it's crazy as fuck.
just like
Mhm.
diverse in his interests, just generally too, because I feel like alcohol was part of it. I remember when
Mhm.
he led the charge to be like, "We're not drinking Cristal no more. We on that
Yeah,
Ace of
bro.
Spades."
Yeah. He was the first one that was like, remember, dude, like would change clothes. He was like, bro, we ain't doing throwback jerseys no more. And then
Yeah.
like Death to Auto Tune, we ain't doing Auto Tune. Like he's done that so many times in his career. He's like, we not one of my favorite, like even though like people don't generally like change clothes as a song, especially when it came out. I think now people might mess with it a little bit more. Like I have. Like I didn't really love it back then, but I've listened to it recently. Like change clothes is tight. But at the not change clothes that album. Change clothes is tight. But what was the first? Show me what you got.
Kingdom
When
Come.
Show Me What You
Oh,
Got
yeah, yeah,
off
yeah.
Kingdom Come, when I know we got to get into the Black album, but the Return album after the Black album, Kingdom Come, and like Show Me What You Got, people was like, it's a alright song, but whatever. It's dope song. But at the end of that song, he says something that's so telling. He was like, y'all had 2 years to get y'all shit together. Good luck. Like, the
Mhm.
king is back, bro. Like, and like when he said that, remember what was like hot back then? Soldier Boy and like all that shit stopped. Like that era of hip hop died so fucking quickly. Like as soon as he said that shit, and like it was like all them niggas became irrelevant in music almost like pretty quickly, and we went right back to like Kanye coming out with Graduation, and then the emergence of Drake, and the emergence of like Kendrick Lamar, and the emergence of like it's so crazy how like he has been one of the hip hop figures that was like, nah, we ready to move the needle to another place. And he's done it like a few times in his career, which I think is pretty dope. So that's a big long way of saying that's why I think he's the GOAT, and that's my relationship with Jay-Z.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I also liked it when he played for the Wizards. I thought that was great.
Love it,
So
man. Love it. Loved it, bro.
they
And he
should have
would have
never
been
let
better if he
Jay-Z
wouldn't. And
play
he would have
for
been
the
better if
Wizards.
he didn't get injured either. Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Um,
Wow, wow.
but anyways, what about Stanley and John? What's your relationship to Jay-Z? Because John, we haven't gone to, but like Stanley, let's to get to you first.
Yeah, I'll just say, Jaquita, I was thinking about Jay with regards to Michael Jordan and LeBron James, because for me, I feel like Jay is the hybrid. Because when you think about the prototypical basketball player, physically, for me, LeBron James is perfect, right? It's like
Yeah.
6'8", 240, can dribble, can shoot, can pass, and do whatever you want. He is what you want a basketball player to look like, sound like, play like. But Michael had that aura, right? That killer instinct. And Jay is he's your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, right? Like he is exactly prototypically what you want a rapper to sound like, feel like, deliver. But Jay also had that killer Michael Jordan instinct where he'll come back and tell people you had 2 years to catch up. And you might think that I'm a bit rusty right now, but I'm gonna drop 45 or 55 in the Garden and remind everybody like I'm still Michael Jordan and I'm back to dominate again. That's been Jay-Z. And people always think about Biggie and Jay, right? Like, what if Biggie didn't die? Would Jay been able to do what he did? And I just think about Michael Jordan in a league with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Clyde Drexler and all these, GOATs, and he still rose to the top. And so I think that Jay still would have been Jay with Big there. If anything, he would have maybe pushed his own music even harder, knowing that there's this equal talent-wise in the pool, in the competition. And I think that what you also said about Jay as a businessman is exactly it. Because Jay, more than maybe any other rapper, is a product guy and he understands valuation, right? So he valued the crack game and thought, you know what, if I stay in this too long, I'm gonna get killed or go to jail. So what can I do next to hustle? Oh, I can rap better than anybody out here. So I'm just gonna rap and flood the market year after year. Every summer, a new album came out. And then in
Yeah.
2003, he's like, oh, you know what? I'm kind of valuing this market now and realizing I don't need to spend all this time dropping bars. I could be the president of Def Jam. But then what he realizes that, well, if I'm the president of Def Jam and nobody else cuts that crack music like I do, then I'm not gonna make as much money. So let me come back. Let me inspire the Drakes and the Kanyes and the J. Coles and the Kendricks to step their game up. And then once they do that, then I'm gonna go back again and do more business deals and flip what I've established in rap music and put it into alcohol, put it into all these other business ventures he has now. And now he is truly a business mogul. And yet every time Jake comes out with a rap post 2000, post 444, everyone gets reminded that he is still the GOAT. Like he is still the auteur of this rap shit. And there hasn't been any other MC, I don't think, that has come close to being bar for bar, flow for flow. Not Soldier Boy, but Jay, like being Jay, being that guy that can stop the presses and tell everyone, hey, I can do this thing better than you can even dream of. And that's what makes him so impressive to this day. And I'll just say that like I think this album that we're going to talk about is actually the retirement. Like I think he actually retired from being a rapper after this album.
Mm.
And everything he dropped after that was really utilized to push another agenda. And we could talk about that later.
Common better. I'm just kidding. Like that was my take last episode, and I'm like, I don't know if that holds to any scrutiny at all. I just love B so much. I love that album so much.
It's
Like,
so good. And
Like,
Jay
album.
loved it too, right? Jay was like,
Yeah.
look, everyone around like common sense. But Jay,
Yeah,
like Michael
B is
Jordan, was
unknown.
like, yo, I can dunk all I want, or I can just do this fadeaway jumper. It
Yeah.
works, and no
I
one
mean,
can stop it.
that's the cool thing. I know John gonna talk too, but that's one of the cool things. Even like
eh,
that's the one cool things about hip hop in general, I think. And just arts, not just hip hop or, different music, different arts, is that like you can have, unlike basketball, where like somebody is gonna have a better flow than you. Somebody, especially if you have a lot of albums, like somebody's album may be better than like some of your albums, and like blah, blah, like it's never the case of like track by track, song by song, album by album, like year by year, you are the best. But like it is like once you really do start to build like a body of work, and like, and when you start to build that body, like Kendrick right now, I think is like on the rise to me. Like he's for me already top five. If there was to be like a ranking, like year by year, like you just have a body of work, and every time you come out, even if like it's not as good as your last, there's gonna be something about what you do that like moves the zeitgeist just a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, Nas is considered to hip hop heads. Nas and Jay-Z were like the two of the like who's better. And like to like some hip hop heads, Nas is better, right? To the
Wrong,
mainstream,
wrong.
well, to the
Wrong.
mainstream, wrong, nope. To the mainstream, like a lot of people, man, I know Nas has been putting out albums like every fucking year, it feels like,
Yeah.
for the past few years. And like
They're good.
from a hip hop perspective, they're good. They're great. And so like, yeah, man, Nas probably has put out a better album in like the past 4 or 5 years than like a couple of Jay's albums, even now. But like nobody's talking about Nas. And that
Mhm.
shit does matter. Like that
Mhm.
does matter, bro. Like it does matter when you're saying like who's the GOAT, I think. I think some people are like it's only lyrics and it's only this and it's only that. For me, I'm just like you ask all these dudes who would they rather be, Rakim or Jay, they all gonna say Jay. Even though
Yeah.
I think Rakim is one of the best to ever fucking do it. Like,
Right.
they all gonna say Jay for the most part.
By the way, Jacquis, I know you perform at the UCB. Hip hop head Trump is something you could like take and like utilize for your own shows. Like,
Because I'm a
take over.
renegade. Renegade. Never been afraid to say what's on my mind at any given time of day. I'm a renegade. I'm a renegade.
That's
I don't
really
know.
good.
Drake's good. I kind of like Drake. He's one of the best.
I don't know. Let's let John talk now. What do you got?
I mean, no, y'all are really kind of like hitting the nail on the head. I think the only thing I can add to the Jay-Z conversation in this, based on what's been said so far, is just kind of my like relationship to all of the work that he's delivered and all of the people that he's kind of platformed in these different bodies of work. Like Jacquis was saying, you think about just from album to album, you go down, you got Reasonable Doubt, which is this just like unique tapestry, and then you move, Streets is Watch in My Lifetime, kind of still in that same kind of mindset, but he knows he needs to shift it. And then he hits you with Hard Knock Like Volume 2, which doesn't sound like any of that. And we get in the Annie sample, and it's just like, if that album is resonating with me. I think that was 1998. I was like 8 years
98,
old. I was like, I
99,
want to
yeah.
listen to that as an
Yeah.
8-year-old. That's insane. Like,
That's my
why
first
is
album,
that?
bro.
Exactly. Like, why is that appealing to me? And then, and then after that, you kind of get into the Rockefeller era where he's lifting up your Memphis Bleaks and your Beanie Siegels and even people like Petey Crack and the Young Guns. It's like I have this collective of artists. It's not just me. And then as a listener, a consumer, you're like, and someone who values what Jay-Z's doing and put his like stamp on, he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna check out who that is. And like, okay, similar producers here. So this is an enclave. Everybody's kind of in it together. And then obviously he gets into more business ventures, but he's still punching in this same weight class. Like if you listen to that, I mean, y'all talked about it on the Blueprint episode, but you listen to Renegade and think about like those verses and Eminem, them sparring, and how that wasn't even a beef, but it was a clash of the Titans in a way. It's just like thinking about Jay-Z in relation to all of these other people. It's never gotten dull. It's never gotten boring. You fast forward, Jay-Z's on Monster and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Maybe his verse isn't the best, but he still got that same flavor, that Jay flavor. And I can't decouple who he is with the sort of benchmarks he does each time. Even American Gangster, like, I feel like that one doesn't get talked about enough.
Mhm.
But for me,
That album hits, bro.
exactly, it's
Mhm.
it's pristine, and it is they rooted it in a different sound for Jay. Yes, it was affiliated with a soundtrack, but just his ability and knack to kind of just shift even a little bit from project to project, just the packaging, just like Jacquis said, that's really what has kind of stood out to me in relation to Jay-Z, and obviously just being the deft rapper, the skilled, dexterous, aura rapper that he is, the effortlessness. I know we shouldn't talk about Fade to Black because this is not. I've been
We
meaning
can
to
talk
watch
about it. You can
that,
talk about it.
which
Yeah,
you
totally.
No, we
should
have to talk about
subscribe
it.
to
Yes.
on Patreon. But just the image of Jay-Z listening to Allure and just standing there rocking back, and he's like, "I've got the song in my head.
Mhm.
I
That shit
know
is
what I'm
tight,
going
bro.
to say." It's
It was so cool. Yeah.
you're an alien. I mean, yeah, he's saying
And then
I'm the
that
best
song
rapper
is
alive. I'm best rapper
great.
alive all over this album. And you think about where Lil Wayne kind of hopped on in like 2007. He's like, oh, well, Jay-Z was talking about that best rapper alive stuff, and he just retired. So I guess I could take that now, thinking about all the artists that he kind of platforms. And then Lil Wayne has his heyday. Is in, Drake, in terms of flooding the market, talk about somebody who floods the damn market for better or for worse. But yeah, I think I always think about Jay as, like you said, the rapper's favorite rapper, but also in a league of his own. You can think about Pac and Big as those 1-2 kind of people who would probably put them in number 2. But I think what Jay-Z took from their short period of time on this earth and then retooled it into became something that is almost unattainable by anybody else. I really don't think anybody. I mean, Kendrick might be able to do it, but Kendrick's got to put in that work. And I think so far, he right there. He's on the heels if he can. But I also don't know if he's really got just like this limelight in him, where I feel like Jay was happy to be front and center. I mean, he's like, we don't have my retirement album, and y'all gonna listen to me talk about putting these jeans and button ups on, So
Nah, bro, y'all gonna listen to me talk about these button ups, bro. Fuck about your crack. Y'all gonna listen to these button up songs, bro.
I'm
We
putting on
dressing up
sandals
now. We wearing our suits and ties now, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
But yeah,
It's crazy.
I know I'm running on, but I haven't done my list. I haven't done my top 5, but Jay-Z does not exist with outside of the top 3 for me. So I'll just
Wow.
close it there. Let me just.
But again, that Jordan comparison is perfect because Kendrick he can break records, he can go 10 for 10 for perfect albums, but Jordan gave you the silhouette, like the Jordan, I want to be like Mike. Nobody can ever replace that. I don't care how many records LeBron breaks or if Victor Wembanyama becomes like the greatest superhero basketball player of all time. Like it's still gonna be Jordan at the end of the day. And Jay, like, because he was in the era of Rakim, right? And Big Daddy Kane, like he came from that era, and then he survived Big J. He exceeded everyone from his comparables, like the DMXs and the Nas's of the world. And then he still battled and rapped with Kendrick, with Drake, with Ye, with Nicki, with anyone, with Cole, anyone that came afterwards. With Wayne, he went on and was either bar for bar or right
Yeah.
there. And I just don't know if Kendrick, because he wasn't alive when Biggie and Pac dropped, he'll never be able to say like, here's me with Biggie going bar for bar. Like that'll never happen. So Jay has that, in his arsenal. And so for me, it's like as many records that Nas drops now that are really good, when he was at his prime, like Nas couldn't touch Jay album for album. He couldn't. Like Nas had Illmatic, but then for a decade he had nothing else.
Hey, man,
Nas,
that's
like,
a one
One
high
was
year before
there.
year average.
Exactly. And
And
that's
that's
just
so lame.
I can say the
like,
word, but yeah.
but like, Nas ostensibly beat Jay-Z in the battle, and then he's still like, Jay-Z still respected more, and he
I mean,
made a little ticky noise.
That's
Like,
it's
my thing,
debatable.
It's
I
debatable.
know in the hip hop world, I
like,
know in the general world, Nas won
right,
that
right,
battle.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
But like, who survived?
yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I
That's
mean.
what
Yeah,
yeah. That's what you mean. Yeah.
Who thrived
That's what I
afterwards.
mean.
And Jay, super ugly, I think is better than Ether, but it was so disrespectful
Wow.
that Jay's mom was like, "Yo, you better take that off the radio. You can't play this." So,
Yeah.
I
uh,
like
I
Ether
think
because it like
Takeover is. I think
Takeover is
Takeover
great.
is
I love
better.
Takeover. But
Yeah.
Ether, I feel is better because Nas critiques Jay-Z's character. Obviously, he
Yeah.
has a dick sucking lips thing, and that's very funny. But like
Yeah.
that's where he goes, and then Jay like replies with just like anger and vitriol, and like I feel like to me, it's like, oh, you got him, kind of in that
I
situation.
mean, in the if we use like the most recent beef,
Well,
can't
hold
forget
on. That's
Drake.
what I was just gonna say. I know y'all
You
talk
know,
about Takeover and Ether on the Blueprint album, and you, Jaquise, you said that Takeover is a song and Ether is a track.
yeah.
Do you think Not Like Us is a song or is it a track?
oh,
Not
that's a
not
good question.
not like us is a track. Not like us is a
Interesting.
track to me. To me, but because it's a track for a couple reasons. One, it's a track because it came on the back end of like five other. I'm sorry. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Not like us is a song. That's
Oh
Mm.
what I
yeah,
meant to
there you
say.
go. Yeah.
Not like us is a song,
The opposite.
and it's a song because it came off the back of like five other tracks. like, like if Not Like Us was the first one to pop up, because like he's saying some crazy shit, and like he's calling him a pedophile. He's saying you want A minor. Like he is saying like shit that is damning, like you would, like Ether did, for instance, like to Jay. Even though Takeover was saying shit too, it was just a little more. It was more vibey, and it wasn't as like pointed. It was just kind of like roasting, like in the circle with your friends. Whereas Ether was like, nah, bro, we putting this shit in newsletters, bro. You are whack as fuck. Like I'm telling every circle I come in, you whack as fuck. Yeah, but Not Like Us is a song, but which is why it hit so hard. Because it's a fucking song, and we had gotten like four other tracks right before that, and it was just like the perfect ending. I think one thing like that's also difficult with hip hop too, and I know we got to talk about the Black Album, and we
Yeah, I
will,
guess.
everybody, we'll talk about it for 15 minutes. But like one of
What
the
is this, an
things
episode of
that
your show, like Culture
episode
Kings, that
15
show I
minutes. We'll
remember?
we'll be right back, everybody, after these messages. I think too, it's just like, I think we have to be careful sometimes. And I felt this way like after like the Blueprint episode too. Like when we talked about like when Jay used that slur and how it felt bad and wrong and things like that, which is obviously correct. But I do think we have to be careful to not judge songs from like, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s by our standards today, which is the case with a lot of things.
Mhm.
And so to that point, like even listening to Super Ugly now, I think is like, oh, but like back then, that
Sure.
shit hit. Like, that shit hit hard, which is why like it got taken the fuck off and stuff like that. And man, today is like you said, hard part six just kind of felt like okay. Um, yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure. I don't think it's the same. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about the Black Album. Y'all were Jaquise, you were a big Jay-Z fan, like Volume 3 was your first album.
Hmm.
And this is his retirement album,
Hmm.
allegedly at the time. What were you around for this? What was your anticipation for this? Where were you? Where was your headspace?
Yeah, yeah. I was definitely around for this. I was a junior in high school when this came out. Um, so yeah, man, we was around for it. I Even back then it felt gimmicky, I'm not gonna lie, but not like in a we think he's gonna come back way. It felt gimmicky where it was like, we get what you're saying. You are Michael Jordan and you're announcing your early retirement. Like, we get it. We get it. And even when he came back, it was like, yeah, of course he came back. Jordan came back. Like, like it felt calculated in a way even then to me, and not in a bad way. It was just like, Okay, yeah, last album. And but you were listening to it because like what hip hop artist had ever said that shit? None of them. No hip hop artists have been like, this is my last album. I'm retiring or retiring, bro. What? I didn't know you could retire from music. Not at 30 something too. Like, you know. But then I think it like forced a lot of people to like actually go back and look through that career. Like I remember Jay having commercials for the Blueprint too, like actual commercials that aired on television. I had never seen a hip hop artist do that. And like I was like, oh wait, this dude has put out an album every single year since '96. Like hip hop artists had never done that. Like you started like going back, and I think by the time this came out, it was something cool to the point where, especially with black individuals, and we watched a lot of basketball, if you did, like when Jordan retired the first time and even the second time, like there was that like we don't quite well we didn't know the first time he was retiring. But the second time it was like you don't quite know until you know. And so like we didn't get to appreciate this is Jordan's last game. Like this is Jordan's last game. And like especially in the black community, that was the last great to walk away from something. And so for Jay-Z's album, it was like it's gimmicky, but like if this is it, I am ready to watch Jay-Z's last game. And so we were
Mhm.
like, it was like anticipatory in like a
Oh, that's
really
so
dope
sick.
way. Like, because we was like, all right, bet, man, this is his last album. Throw that shit on. And you sat down, and we listened to music differently back then too than we do now. But you sat down with the album, you put that shit on, and you was like, it's time to listen to like this dude is leaving after this album. We're never gonna hear from him again. And it was like tight. It was tight.
Yeah, I mean
And then
that's
collision course.
Right.
I was
Yes.
too
Yes.
busy watching like Arthur and Zaboomafoo or whatever. Like,
Hey man, can you imagine if you would known as Arthur's last episode?
yeah,
You'd have been right there, bro. Well, let me see what DW and I'm talking about.
yeah.
Thank goodness for Chance.
I felt like I felt the same way at like Arthur's last episode. Just like what's DW going to say now?
Yeah.
Like what's DW's like final
What's her
sentiment
final word?
to,
What's her
to
final what's her final annoyance of Arthur? I gotta see. I gotta see what she
doesn't she become a cop? Like, isn't that her?
does
Like,
she?
I
Is
think
that
that's
is
what
that the
happens to
lore?
her. Yeah,
That's so funny.
Tracks.
That's so funny.
yeah.
I mean, I think Jacquis really kind of summarized it, right? Like it was the anticipation of the greatest rapper of all time dropping the last piece of work and then kind of saying to the world like, okay, like try to do better. That's what we were kind of anticipating when we were listening to this album the first time. And I remember actually watching, and for me, Fade to Black is so paired with this experience because I watched Fade to Black in the movie theater. I just remember when we all like left, the lights came on, and we're just like, holy shit, that was just the coolest insider baseball look into how a genius puts genius together. And John, you mentioned it, right? Like the him actually like going through the tracks and kind of saying like, no, no. And once inspiration hit, and for that to then become, what more can I say? Or, 99 Problems or Dirt Off Your Shoulder or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, like anybody else would take years to try to craft the sound and write down the right lyrics and put the different characters together. And he did it in like 15 minutes. Like it made no sense.
While also passing on bangers.
Oh,
Like,
The
bangers.
Timbaland scene where he was
Oh,
like, what are the songs? Like, there's a Brandy
The
song and there's a
Potion,
Ludacris song, and
by
yeah,
Ludacris. He
Hmm.
passed on the last call beat by Kanye.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That
yeah.
one beat that Kanye played him,
oh,
that sounded like NWA. I was like, he's
Yeah.
not gonna get on that.
yeah.
He passed on, yeah.
But it's
It's kind
like
of crazy.
But it's like the idea, like, first of all, you have all these resources at your disposal, like just like like Eminem wanting to not feature on the song, but produce a song for him is like a very like Eminem was at the top of the world at that point, and like, all right, but I gotta circle back to give Jay-Z a beat for this album. And then like the different approaches to creativity all these great producers had of like Rick Rubin, it was like a process of like, the spiritual process of like, let's push Jay-Z further. like creatively, and then Timbaland is like, I did all the hard work outside of meeting Jay-Z, and now you get to pick which one you want, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Timbaland was, I think, the best part of that whole thing because he was
Even the
so
banana.
nonchalant with the banana, the OJ, and he was kind of like it's a regular Sunday morning for Tim. Like, oh, you want some beats? Okay, I got this, 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 this. Oh, you want the bounce? Well, coming up.
I got the
And
bounce.
he has so much shit. Like he was just brilliantly hilarious, and it didn't feel like it was Jay's last album, and Timbaland felt that. Timbaland was kind of like, yeah, I just do this.
Mhm.
Everybody else like knew the scope of this moment, but Tim was kind of like, yeah, all right, Jay, you want this? It's done. If you want it, you
Yeah.
can have it. If you don't, cool, I'll use it. Like it's all good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Somebody else will use it, bro.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, that the dance moves, everything about Timbaland was just perfect.
But yeah, what about the John? What about like your anticipation and like relationship to this album and the rollout and the dropping and like what was your like when you were sitting down and going like this is Jay-Z's final album? What was going through your mind at the time?
I feel like I don't want to say this to paint it in a negative way, but I feel like this experience minorly got a little gatekeeped from me. And I
Mm.
say that because as soon as I could, I started to buy albums. And this is not unresolved griping that I'm doing here, but I most often shared my Jay-Z fandom with my cousin, shout out Dorius. And he had the catalog. He like bought all the Jay-Z albums. But I was like, well, it's the time. But my dad bought it. I was like, Dad buying the Black album? Is this Dad's album now? Like, I'll listen to it. You turn it on, like I'm home first or whatever. I'm like, yep, this shit knocking. But I mean, just like Stanley and Jacquis said, I was definitely anticipating it in a momentous way. And what more can I say? I said, Jay, like I'm speechless even thinking about it. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
was. You don't think that the goat's gonna take this moment and just bow out. You like Stanley said, it's like, and he said it's never been done in hip hop before to just exit. So yeah, I hard to reconcile, but you had to, you know.
And
Right.
can I just mention real quick because I know like we've been doing like a lot of hip hop albums these last few weeks, and we talked about this off air that like tonally it feels a little bit different some of the other episodes we've done, and I think part of it is because like with hip hop there's a cultural aspect to it, and I compare what Jay did to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas like every time Jay dropped like he's adding more and more to the story, and you're kind of like you feel like you were there, like you feel like when Tony Stark became Iron Man, you said to the world, I am Iron Man. You feel like, wow, like I'm seeing the creation of this superhero that you didn't think could exist. And when Jay is saying like he's the greatest of all, best rapper alive, like you're like, wow, I feel that. And with the anticipation of the last album, it's the anticipation of Endgame. It's like you've been building and building for a decade with all of these movies and TV series, and now you get to see the conclusion of the superhero's ultimate journey. And it means more than a pop album that gets dropped, and then the next pop album gets dropped, and you dance to it and you have such a good time with it, but there isn't the consequence of the morning after. With Jay,
Consequences.
there are consequences, right? To listening to Jay and listening to him telling you the stories of like, I did certain shit that I don't want you all to do. Or, hey, watch out, don't turn this corner because if you turn this corner, America has it set up. Or, hey, I'm trying to feed you all good food, but all you want is shit. So I'm not gonna rhyme like common sense anymore. Or Talib. Like I'm gonna dumb it down for my audience to double my dollars, right? Like he's telling you all this stuff, and the storytelling, I think, is what makes Jay the GOAT and what made this album so cool because he was telling the final story, you know?
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. And also like the idea that Biggie and Tupac didn't get to live. They were like murdered.
Yes.
They were murdered. And so there's that, like the legends who could have gone to this point in their career, they were killed. And then a lot of the other artists who were great, like they fell off after 3 years. They had like the lifespan of a rap career is much shorter than what Jay-Z did,
Mhm.
like, and then you got like, your Nas's and stuff like who are just like around and such. But like, um, like
Yo, shout out to Nas
Uh-oh.
though. Honestly, we keep shitting on Nas on this thing, and like Nas, what he's done post
I
Jay's
love
career.
Nas. He's
Yeah,
great. He's so
yeah,
good.
He's
Um,
consistent, very
yeah,
yeah.
consistent.
Nas got hits. Nas got hits.
yeah, for sure. But like, we let Nas down. We got to write a we got to enlist J. Cole to write a song about it. But yeah, I think but so there's that. So yeah, I love the idea of like considering a rap catalog, which is like a new phenomenon. Now we kind of have it a little more. We could think about the Drake catalog, we could think about the Kanye catalog, we could think about the Kendrick catalog. And then also like this is the question that Stanley posed at the end of in our group chat of just like what do you like, so say your favorite artist like decides to retire and like I'm gonna put out a final album, what do you want out of that? And for
Mhm.
me, I want one like a perfect unit of Jay-Z, like just like represent all the things that he did so well, like in one package. Like, and then two, I want to see like a nice end point for Jay-Z himself. I want Jay-Z to be in a better place than he was when he started the journey. That's what I want. Like, and I feel like for me, like Childish Gambino did that, and like I know like Bando Stone wasn't like very popular and people didn't really listen to it very much or like care about it. But like that's what I wanted. Like, oh, like he started as a weird loner incel weirdo and now he's has a happy family and he's showing off his skills and then he's fucking off. And that's a lot. I really like that. So
Was
like
Bando
there's
his last one? Did he say that? I didn't know that.
it's he
Think
says
so.
it, but like, but
Hmm.
also the thing about like these creatives is like that's like an artist saying that this is my final album is so unfathomable to me. Like first
Mhm.
like because to me like an artist's I question it. Like I question Childish Gambino saying this is my final album. I question Jay-Z. Obviously, it was proven wrong that this was his final album because like an artist is like restless and an artist is like their purpose is to create or like to do all this stuff and you're just gonna like you're gonna like purposely like kneecap yourself and go like I'm not gonna do this anymore unless you have like another avenue you really want to do. So it's like I think there's I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but like that's just some of the things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, but I think
That's
I
a,
think. Oh, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say that that's just like that's the listener's perspective. Like you're never gonna want your something that you hang on to in your day to day and kind of like attach your moments and bent milestones and all that. It's like disappointing to think that the listeners of this podcast, if anything were to happen, and it's like, well,
Don't you say that.
sayonara. No, I don't. I'm not speaking ill will on this podcast. I'm just saying, just like when you have something that's so coupled to your day to day, it's gonna be really hard to digest. Someone saying, this isn't my thing anymore. Sorry, fans."
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is also where insider baseball comes into play because where a childish says, "Hey, this is my last album," I think real creatives, like people who are creative outlets first and foremost, once they feel like that creative juice has like kind of dripped out, they are sincere in saying this is it. But you can always replenish that creativity and then be like, "Oh my gosh, I have this new thing I need to like spit out." And so while I thought it was done, it's not. Whereas Jay, if you go back to Rockefeller in 2003, the breakup was starting to happen, right? So Jay's also seen from a business perspective, man, if I keep making these albums the way I'm making these albums and I'm breaking up with Dame and Biggs, like the way that I'm going to capitalize on my music might not be the same as it was before, depending on how this breakup goes. So let me just say, like, I'm done and like everyone's all good, like it's cool and all, and I'll go do the Death Jam thing, resolve this like Rockefeller breakup, and then come back. So I think Jay was also thinking from a business perspective, and for me, Jay, we've now learned that he's more of a capitalist than an artist, right? He capitalizes on
Let's
any
talk about
area.
it.
Like he's almost like, in the Matrix when he talked
Mhm.
about humans being like, was it bacteria? not bacteria, a plague. Like you just multiply and multiply and multiply and suck up all the resources and it goes somewhere else and do the same thing. Jay does that in the way that he like knows, all right, I can make a lot of money here. I'm just gonna make it and make and make and make, and then fuck off, go somewhere else, do the same thing. I think he read the tea leaves and was like, I can make more money as a president and as an artist under a crumbling label.
Yeah. Um, all good points. All good points. I think like for this album in particular, I do think there was an element to Jay that also was just tired of music and making music. Um, because of the way he makes music too. Like he doesn't write. So it's not like he has a notebook of shit. It's not like he's, most hip hop artists and somebody who aspired to rap at one point in his life, like you're writing all the time and like he's probably freestyling and shit. But like his album making process, while it was short, it is mentally exhausting, I would assume.
Mm,
And he had done something that no other hip hop artist really had done up to that point, which was release an album every year for 7 years.
yeah.
And it was number one each time. And on top of that was still featuring on shit and lending his talent to other music and other artists. And around 2003, that's the rise of like him and bringing Kanye on because Late Registration dropped a few months later. So like
Wow.
Kanye is on and all these different or sorry, College Dropout. College Dropout dropped a few months later. So I do think that even like the tea leaves thing, I think that's true. But I do think there was also an element to him that was like, I'm fucking tired. Like, I'm tired.
Hmm.
This I've done something that no other hip hop artist has ever done
Mm.
before. And like I'm burnt out in a way, right?
Yeah.
And
I love what you said too, Andrew, about like things you look for in this album, which is why I think this, even though like we all know Jay has come back and he has many albums now after he has probably more out. Does he have more albums now than like the first half of his career? I'm not sure. Like post Black Album, they're around the same. So he's put
yeah,
out
Yeah.
like almost 5, 6 albums post Black Album.
yeah.
So when we go back to listen to the Black Album, we know it's not really the retirement album, even though it's kind of geared toward that. Like the songs are very geared toward finality.
Mm.
But it's still a very cool snapshot in the career of Jay-Z because his career did he became more wealthy even post Def Jam than he ever was before Def Jam and like Black Album and shit like that.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's definitely two sides to his career, and the Black Album is still that midpoint, I think.
Hmm.
But everything that I was looking for out of this album it delivered on. Like you are looking like I want to hear like I want to hear all the things that made Jay-Z special. And you did that. And you like, I want to hear like the finality. Like this is it. I want to hear like what it feels like to end a career. You did that. But I'll even add to that. The third thing I wanted to hear was I wanted to hear if you are still on top. Because most players that retire, especially in the fucking 90s, most of them didn't retire and they were still great. Jordan was like one of the first ones, Barry Sanders. Like it wasn't, most people when they hit retiring age, it's because they
Ooh.
suck. Generally, it's because they suck
Yeah.
at what they
They're
can't
aging,
do it
or they're just
anymore. They're
aging. Yeah, yeah,
aging.
yeah.
Yeah, they can't do it at the same level, even if they were great. When Jay is talking about I'm gonna retire, and he brings out an album that is like I'm still the best that's doing this right now. I'm just tired of doing it. Very much like Jordan when he retired. He was like, wait, the best basketball player at the height, he just won a championship and he's
Yeah,
leaving.
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Like it is crazy to think like, yeah, dude, like after this album, like Jay could still do this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if Nas would have came out with a retirement album when he was putting out albums in 2000 three, and I heard it. I was like, "Yeah, bro, this feels time. This feels like time. Yeah, go ahead, hang them up, bro. Thank you for your
Yeah.
contributions. Good luck in your future endeavors."
It's called Stillmatic. It's called Stillmatic. Yeah.
Exactly, bro. You're like, yeah, this feels like it, bro. Go ahead and gracefully exit.
Mm.
Oh,
Like
that's funny.
what we so like we're talking about themes without like saying we're talking about themes, but like
Yes,
basically
yeah.
the last thing I want to say though, like Jacquis saying like, "Oh, Jay-Z's, like obviously he could still do more, but he's a little tired, needs a little break. He needs a little Betty by like nappy time." But like it's like his thing is like it's also like he's now in a position where he could reflect a little bit. He could reflect on his life, where he's come from. Now that he's not in a position of like sink or swim, or I'm gonna die, or someone's gonna kill me, whatever. He can now think like do a little more introspection and like what I've done so far, where I came from, who's my mom and dad, trying to forgive his dad a little bit, like trying to like all that stuff and like giving his mom like some flowers too. There's like this feels very funny to think about like this being the halfway point of his career, and then 444 is like 10 years later. I've done more thinking about my dad and my mom, and revealing things I haven't revealed before, and here's why I was unfaithful, here's why I have this sex addiction problem and all that stuff, while also like yeah, I just think that's a really cool thing. Like Adness is such a fucking awesome song. Like it's I love 444, by the way. I think that's like tops like for me, like of the three I've listened to. But yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is why I think this album is actually two albums. I think the first two songs, I think the interlude and December 4th, that's actually the retirement album. I think it's like a two song where he kind of says introspectively, like, hey, like this is me, this is why I'm here, how I became who I am. And I think that really captures the essence. It's why Fade to Black ends with December 4th. And then the rest is just like almost like a greatest hits
Well, it's
but
new
in real
content.
time.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, exactly. But it's new content. But he's kind of saying like, all right, like Jacquis said, like, hey, you want to see if I still got it? All right, now press play on the rest of this album. And I'm just gonna show you I not only still have it, but I can do it lyrically with no features, but yet feature the best soundtrack that you can think of. And like every producer, which I think is a huge highlight of this album, every producer basically produced a song that they would want to rap on. And then Jay rapped on it better than they could have rapped on their own song, right? Like Quick sounds like a Quick track. Kanye's tracks are Kanye tracks. Pharrell shits, Pharrell. Everyone does their thing. And then Jay does his thing on top of everybody else's thing. And it makes it automatically a Jay-Z sound, right? Like
Yeah.
The Earth Your Shoulder is Timbaland's beat, but then it becomes Jay-Z's song the second Jay spits on it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that's also where I think this is why for me it's his best album. It's because he just is able to really summarize hip hop. Like he is the encyclopedia of what you want rap to be like, sound like, feel like. Like it's all there, you know.
Mm.
I love what you just said because I have similar ideas. I just have a different like placement for it because I think this album is actually three albums
Ugh.
actually.
Well, I see your three, and I'll raise you
I'll raise you
four.
five.
Wrong. Just like-
So I think it's three albums, and I think it goes through his career in a very
Mm.
interesting way. And I'll pinpoint it for you. So I actually think it doesn't end on December 4th. I think it ends at What More Can I Say? Just one album,
I
one
think
song
so.
later.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
like it's
Yeah.
What More Can I Say, which is why the fourth song is Encore. Like it's basically like no, come
Oh.
back,
Mhm.
come back, come back. And then like those next like tracks, which is Change Clothes, Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Threat, Moment of Clarity, 99 Problems even,
Yes, yeah.
are like all songs that kind of sound like songs throughout his early career, like Reasonable Doubt all the way up into the Black Album. Like different points of it. Dirty, even, 99 Problems is the drug era, Jay-Z, and like all of that. And then public service announcement comes, and he was like, "Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name
Yeah.
is Hove."
Okay.
And the next tracks on the album are all about drugs, which is pre Jay-Z. That's pre Reasonable Doubt. He was like, "Allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm back to hustling. I'm a businessman now." Like, and his biggest like business venture before hip hop was the streets. That's why all of those songs are about fucking drugs. And then like my first song is just like all right, album over, goodbye. But
Yeah.
I think you have like the retirement, encore. Let me show y'all like everything that you wanted. And let me actually remind y'all, like, I came into this 100 grand strong, like through
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah.
Like this album is it's number two for me, like on his best albums. And it's such a good, that's what makes this album so good. If you talk about I'm retiring and your album was whack, like that, like there was no way you can come back now.
Hmm.
Because when you come back, people like, yeah, nigga, you better come back.
Hmm.
Like that shit was whack. But this album is just hit after fucking hit after fucking hit. Like just so many dope songs. Like songs that don't even get single play, just like radio play. It's just Allure is one of the best songs I fucking love Allure.
I agree.
Like,
But I like that framing a lot, and you're right. Like it's so perfectly the what more can I say when he goes like, "We'll see what happens when I no longer exist. Fuck this." It's a
yeah,
perfect exit, and then he plays the greatest hits,
yeah.
and then he comes
Like he
back in,
drops the
right?
mic.
Like,
Like on what more
yes,
Yeah,
can I
you
say?
can
It's
hear
it's
it
beautiful.
clanging.
you hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually hear it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
then Encore is like, no, wait, come back, come back. He's like, all
yeah,
right,
Yeah.
cool. I'll show y'all a little bit more.
yeah.
Let me give you what you want.
And you know what's funny
Uh,
is that even like sonically, what more can I say in Encore almost are hitting the same sonic note, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
hmm
like the dun 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 and an encore like dun,
Dun,
dun, dun,
dun,
and
dun.
it's just almost
Yeah.
there, right? Like so
yeah,
it can almost be an encore to that track, but like
yeah,
Oh,
tuned differently. Which yeah, okay, I
Like
like that
they
framing a lot.
they didn't necessarily have to do like the track break. They could have did the slash and just
Yes,
like
yeah.
kept it going.
Just kept it going.
yes, yeah.
but like also Allure is closing a door, opening a window of like I could come back. The streets are calling me back. Like this
Yes.
hmm
lifestyle's coming me back. Like he calls him Jovito's way. Like, but like the idea of like one more job. Sort of like this
Yeah,
idea. Like
Yeah.
this song is the one more job, but also I could come back after to do one more job.
yeah.
And
The double entendre is strong because Allure
Yes.
is like the I could come back to the hip hop game, but let me go make my first song real. Oh, I can come back to the crack game, but let me go make my first song real quick. Like, let me
Yeah.
go get on
Mhm.
it, which is why the next song is called my first song. Like those last like Justify My Thug, Lucifer, Allure, my first song I think obviously Jay will be the only one who knows this because he's never talked about it, but I think those songs are the clump of his life right before he made. I mean, he had made songs before Reasonable Doubt, but like before he came into the hip hop game as like Jay-Z. Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it is about as perfect of a this is a retirement album as you can get.
Mm.
And then he just came back and didn't retire.
And even that flow, like on my first song, is his flow pre Reasonable
It
Doubt,
is.
right? Like
Yeah,
that's how you used to rap back in the day. And
it
then
is.
so the actually kind of call back to the flow on his last song called his first song is also pretty genius. And I love that scene. I forgot from what movie it was or what clip it was where Kanye talks about like being on the private jet with Jay, and then Jay, like Kanye wants to watch like, Mean Girls and Anchorman, and Jay's like, no, put on Godfather, Godfather Part Two, and Casino, and like all of these like gangster movies, because that's what Jay like what, and Jay said it in American Gangster, right? Like Scarface the movie did more than Scarface the rapper to me, right? Like he was way more influenced. And what is that thing about these gangster movies is that they just never know when to really retire, right? Like they know they should leave the game and they're like at their peak. And then there's just that one last deal that they want to make, that one last, job. And that's always when it goes wrong. And that's the allure, right?
I
And
feel like he said something like that about that in relation to Scarface in Fade to Black. Is like everybody looks to Scarface, but what happens at the end of Scarface?
yes, he does
Yeah,
say
and
that.
then he
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah. Spoiler. Yeah.
Spoiler. Scarface lives, everybody, just in case you didn't know. He's living a happy life in Cuba. In Cuba.
Chilling with Pac.
He's living a happy life in Cuba, and every once in a while he visits Puerto Rico.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break.
Oh God.
Oh
It's
my
so
goodness.
funny and
All right.
scary.
The Black
Let's go
Album.
through some highlight songs or unless you need to take a like quick
No, let's do
okay.
it. Let's
All
do
right.
I'm
it.
good, bro. I'm chilling.
All right. Yeah, let's talk about highlight songs. Jacquis, what is a highlight song from this album?
Just one?
Yeah, let's just stop one, then we could like use a conversation point, and then we can talk about another one.
No doubt. That's hard. That's tough. Because it's a lot. But I'll go with one that's not like a huge no one.
Oh, a hipster.
I love Lucifer.
I do too. Yeah, it's so good.
Love Lucifer.
I think
Just
it's better than Encore. I think it's the better beat than Encore.
I
oh
agree.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like it. I think is I enjoy this. Encore is I don't better is I don't know if I would say better, but it is like Encore is the mainstream song. It is like the song that like now people, you know, outside of the breakdown we just gave of how to break down the album, it is the song that people think of as like the last song of the album. Like they're not playing my first song like to end his concert. Like he's playing encore. Like, you
Of
know what I'm
course,
saying?
yeah.
So it is like, sonically the last song of the album in that respect. So because of that, it's a little more, I don't want to say poppy, but it's just a little more popular. Whereas Lucifer is, that's not getting on the radio. Like that is for the people who bought the album, right? Which generally a lot of those songs sometimes are better than like the songs that you release for singles sometimes. And yeah, Lucifer is a great song, man. It's one of the best songs on the album. And yeah, just the beat. Kanye did that one, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that's right. Yeah.
And gave
Just
him the cadence of the
Lucifer.
chorus, I want to say.
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah. He did. And then just even the way, man, it's such a good fucking song that like I think if you're gonna listen to just one song off the album that wasn't popular, like that's the one. And it's difficult for me to have anybody say like that's not like a perfect song for a hip hop song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to like a ghost writing for Jay, right? Like it's like, I mean,
Hmm.
Jay obviously is such a genius with this invisible pen, but with Ye kind of framing the track and then it kind of giving that chorus. And again, Fade to Black was so cool to see like a young Kanye like have the arrogance to actually give Jay any type of like framing or writing advice, like what? This is the greatest of all time. But then Jay takes it and brings it to a totally new level and is lyrically is so capable and so perfect at matching the tone of whatever production or theme. You talk about themes of the album, like theme of a record. Jay
Hmm.
captures the theme like of a record like nobody else, and it just like creates this like kind of this magnus opus of like songs and lyrics and portraits on this.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love, just to make one more point about Lucifer, just like I love the way it ends too, where he's talking about
He
like
references the sample. Like,
how he want to, well, no, how, holding a nine to Bob's killer, asking them why is my eyes fill up, reverse the day, and there you are, Bob love. And then it's like, Lord, forgive him. We all have sinned. And then like just the way it ends is so beautiful. And if you listen to the album like in order, and the way it just so
Oh,
smoothly goes into a lore,
it's so
it's
yes.
good.
such a fucking
So
beautiful
good.
transition. It is one of my favorite parts of the album is just the end of Lucifer and the beginning of Allure together. It's
Hmm.
fucking perfect, dude. It's
Hmm.
so fucking perfect. I love it.
Yeah. I first just two observations. I love that even though it's implicitly competitive, like the idea is all, like beyond like the Jay-Z retirement, it's like a backdoor pilot for all these great producers. Just like
Hmm.
it's
Mhm.
like the Pharrell documentary and the Kanye documentary is happening in the middle of the Fade to Black documentary.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
and like
Not
Pharrell's like, I want
Yeah.
to be. This should be Legos. I'm like whatever. It's like, like, but like the idea, like it's happening in the middle of this documentary, and it's like, and even though like it's competitive, and I think the fun of the hip hop conversation is like, I like this beat better, and the just bass, like doing all that. That moment you're talking about, Jaquise, is like the way they also assist each other. It's like a assist in
Mhm.
like basketball, like just like a great pass. Also,
Mhm.
Yes.
it's not like they're not like sabotaging each other. They're just like great
No.
documents, like standing on its own. You could discern which one you like better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds so beautifully put together. Just like, what more can I say going right into Encore? Like it's just
Yeah.
it is I feel like and whenever I say this, people always get on me because, I'm old. But I feel like there aren't many hip hop albums, at least nowadays, where the songs just all feel like they go in the right order sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
sequencing. The sequencing is an art
yeah,
form.
the sequencing is so weird and on some albums to me. And I think that's one very small part of Jay-Z's like hip hop career and like probably just hip hop back then too that doesn't get enough credit is like on a few of his albums, the sequencing is so good where
Hmm.
you may get a song or two that sounds out of place, but like there are multiple tracks that just sound so right together, like right next to each other if you listen to the albums. And I actually do know why the sequencing on albums are so bad now. It's because of iTunes and Spotify and streaming. And nobody's making albums for album's sakes
They
anymore.
were
You're making
making it for
songs.
playlists.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Hmm.
I think that's why. So the era of music we're in has a lot to do with it, but sequencing was a lot better back in the day.
Hmm.
Stanley, what's a highlight song from this album?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and anyone who's been listening to this podcast knows that I'm a little bit of a Ye fan, but I have to admit that for me, my favorite beat on this album is by Just Blaze, and
I agree.
it's public service announcement.
Oh
It's
no, no.
Yeah, for me, it's
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think Jaquise, the way you frame this is even better for me now when I think about how there's like these three parts, and you went through this experience of like wow, like Jay went back to his catalog and he's in his bag with all these tracks, and all of a sudden you hear that ding ding ding.
Oh, it
This is the
sounds so
public
tight,
service
bro.
announcement, and you're kind of like,
And it
oh.
just kind of snaps you back into focus a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Yeah,
commercial, right?
yeah,
It's a commercial brought to you by Just Blaze, and you're kind of like,
yeah.
oh,
You're
and there's
right.
this declaration, like fellow Americans, like what the fuck is
Ugh.
happening? And then allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
My name is
Ding,
Oh,
and then the way that that
The
sounds,
organ.
yeah, bro.
oh, I
Just
and
Yeah.
holding it down.
I think it
Nine,
may
99
be
problems. The 99 problems be even if you just like if you just have the instrumental of that would just to allow me to reintroduce like that shit goes so fucking hard.
it's so that's what I'm saying.
It
So it's
goes so
like
fucking hard.
it's so good. And then Jay, then on that song, kind of makes it official. What we all knew was official with the Beyonce stuff, but that line of like, got the hottest chick in the game wearing my chain. That's right, Hove. Like that also, it's like, okay, it cements in a video with all you see is Beyonce is kind of like a little smirk, and then she's wearing the Rockefeller chain. And
Wow.
it's just an amazing moment.
Yeah.
But Just Blaze for me, like of all these super producers. I think he won by the slimness of margins. He won with this track.
Well, he worked with I mean like Just Blaze was very him and Guru were very prominent
Oh, for sure.
in Jay's early career. Like I would say, Just Blaze was probably before
Like
Kanye
number one, yeah.
his most prolific producer. Yeah,
For sure.
Hmm.
yeah.
H to the OV. I used to
Uh,
move snowflakes by
Snowflakes
the
by the
OV. I
OC.
guess even then,
Even back
back then,
then,
you
you
could
could call
call
me.
me CEO of the
R
ROC. Oh my
C.
Oh,
God.
it's so fucking.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I was
Dude,
singing
he
along.
just
I was
crushed
singing
this
along
album.
too. Also.
He just, yeah. Public service announcement is just like it is one of those tracks that doesn't get talked about enough, but everybody who knows it loves it usually because it's just like it is I can't even like properly like talk about it because it was just one of those tracks where it's just like oh shit and like you just kind of like damn this
Yeah.
dude is hidden and then it just ends like and
And
then it's
that's
back to
exactly.
the
Yeah.
yeah it's
That the way that it
Yeah.
ends. It's a commercial, right? And then like,
it's a
but
commercial
it's again like you're in this album, you're in this moment, and then for that to stand out and to make you kind
yeah
of go, wait, what? And to this day, I think like obviously, Dirt Off Your Shoulder still hits, 99 Problems, blah blah. But this one, because it wasn't a single and it hasn't been, I guess, overplayed on the
Overplayed. Yeah.
mainstream, when you hear it, when I've been listening to this album, every time I still have that same face, like that Jay-Z, like the bucket hat, like ooh, like
yeah
that still happens with this song every time.
and I don't know about where you guys were from but Andrew I know you weren't necessarily you were alive but you weren't in the same listening
You were
circles
really
as we
alive
were.
though, like
But like I remember, like even that video is all black and white and shit too. But I
Oh,
remember like
cool.
public service announcement was probably back then, at least in my high school, the most popular song on the album.
Mm.
Oh,
Like, I think, but it was the song that everybody like fucked with, like, and that everybody like when they made the video for. He made a video for a song that was a minute and a half, like,
Yeah, yeah,
like it was, I think, like the most like. It's not quite mainstream, but it's so fucking good that it is.
yes.
But we still don't talk about it as much. It was definitely like one of people's favorite songs on the album and the one that got us rocking the most. 99 Problems did too. Dirt Off Your, I mean, this album got hits, bro. This
It
album got
does.
hits.
And
It
he
does.
went like he
Yeah.
went Philosopher Stone too off in this real 1 minute and 30-second chunk. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
he lived in a
lines
cupboard.
like no, I'm just saying like in terms of the gems that he drops, it's like
Mhm.
I got a hustler spirit, period. Peep my swag. I walk like a ball player. No matter where you go, you are what you are, player. Like that. That's so simple, but that's a very, very poignant line to just
Yes.
be like, you show up as you. You are only you. Therefore, you are only who you can. You're the raw material.
Yes.
You are who you can fashion your life, but you are the one that has to do it. Yeah, this was my highlight, Stanley. It was my
Yes.
highlight.
Yes. It
Um,
still can be.
so I'll just say that we have a dual highlight here. But yeah, he finessed this whole song. It's like transcendent.
Yeah,
I
you want to
like.
talk about like 444? Like this is 444 before 444. And
Oh, for sure.
444
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it's a quote unquote simplified version of what he said in this. Right? Like on this, he's like really like almost hiding it through double entendres and clever raps. And 444 is like, all right, guys, like here's what I mean. You buy art, you multiply that art, it grows in value, blah, 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 blah. He's like really breaking it down. But this one, it's like, that whole idea, like you are who you are before you got here. Like it's like, wait, what? What do you mean?
I was like when you said Just Blaze had the best beat. My favorite beat was December 4th. That's my favorite one. Like it's like
Interesting.
yeah, it's like
Interesting.
or my favorite
Hmm.
Just Blaze beat at least. Like I
Mm,
like this a little better than it's just such a warm. There's such warmth and color and triumph to the production. It's like a mix of Rocky and The Godfather. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's such a. He says in the idea of like the Biggie sample at the end of the beginning of my first song where he's like, you gotta treat every job it's like it's your first. You gotta treat every album and song like it's your first song. And then here, for anyone who might not know who Jay-Z is, he makes it very clear. Like, here's my deal. I used to do this, and then here's my mom and all that stuff.
hmm.
I love that, and I love the lines like and a drought could define a man when the well dries up. You learn the worth of water. Without work, you thirst till you die. Yup.
Yep.
This very matter of fact, like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't have water, if you don't work, you don't get to eat. And if you don't eat, you die. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, so like, what makes him so great is like he knows who he is what
Hmm.
he knows his skill sets, he knows who he's not, he knows he's not like Busta Rhymes and stuff like that, and then he's also like takes for the most part takes accountability for who he is, like
Yes.
just like he understands that he wears a Che Guevara t-shirt with the chain on, he knows he's that guy, he knows he's not Talib, he knows he's not this guy, and like he knows what made him who he is. He knows that like it's racist social engineering that created the circumstances that he lived through, but also doesn't whine, like for lack of better words, like kind of just like blame every single thing on that either. So I think it's just a great track. It's just like ultimately like I did what I did to survive. They didn't expect me to thrive or end up on top. So I just
Hmm.
think the first song just does that so perfectly. So
Yeah.
which even though it's the second song and the my first song is the last song. Also,
Yeah.
when you think
No,
about
the
it.
interlude. Well, the interlude. If you know,
Right. It's
the
the
interlude
first.
so it's the first song. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah. The
It's
first
it's
real
the first
song. Yeah,
song. First real
yeah.
song. I love the beginning of the album is great. Like just even the way it starts with the
Mhm. Sean Carter was
like
born.
Sean Carter was
Welcome to the
born.
show.
It's very like Space Odyssey 2001. Like just very like Ric Flairian, like just like grandiose orchestra, just like because like the reason that Ric Flair music at the beginning of Space Odyssey was, even though I call it the Ric Flair music, even though that movie came out before Ric Flair. But like the reason it's so like big in that moment is because like it's like the start of the universe and like the start of space and like he's literally that song is very much just like the start of this Halley's Comet by the name of Jay-Z like was with his mom, which is very rare up to Tupac had his mom I think on like an album, but like still very rare. Like that doesn't happen often in music where people have their family, especially in hip hop,
Yeah,
on the fucking
December
album.
December 1st, Keith, I know you like your Disney ventures. This
Yeah.
is like it's like starting up the carousel of progress.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
the
tight,
lights
man.
on. You got get taking your seat, and then here we go. About to
Mhm.
go around, take the trip.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's beautiful, man. And so I love December 4th. I think it's dope that you Andrew think it is the best beat on the album. I also think like a reason why, you can tell me if this is right or wrong, but a reason why is because like your hip hop journey started a little closer to probably the 2010s. Is that
That's right.
right?
Yeah. That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
And like and just even the way you were explaining how this beat sounds is very much like a very like 2010s, late 2008, the when the Kanye
Sure.
influence had really started to, even though this is just Blaze, but like when the Kanye influence and like that music and like the beats became even more grandiose and beautiful and more flowery and things like that, which is all great. I'm not
Yeah, totally.
shitting on him a lot, but like I think because like that was the pinpoint of your hip hop journey, like that probably was what your ears like perked up to a little bit more because it probably sonically like relates to you a little bit more versus like I'm assuming we're all in our 30s. It seems like, and me being in my late 30s, or we're all like, I'm in my late 30s, so I'm a very old millennial. Like reason why like 99 Problems, that track hits so hard for us is because it very much has like, that feel of just like a little bit of danger,
I
like a
love
little bit of
99 Problems, by the
sharpness,
way. Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
which is what we listened to a lot like in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, even though it was starting to change into, like the there was a lot more, but like a lot of that, like especially late in 80s and early 90s hip hop,
Mm,
like 99 Problems has like that feel uh
Mhm.
to me.
yeah.
In a very modern way. So that's why it probably sonically like hits us in a little bit of a more, light.
See, that song makes me think of Arthur balling up his fist, and like
Bro.
that's too scary for
Mm.
me. Like,
Mm. I just watched a clip of that, bro. Like I just watched. I know the meme. I know the meme. And like I'm not up here acting like I didn't watch Author growing up. I watched Author too. Like I watched the
Uh,
first couple seasons probably. So
mm.
I fucked with. Hey, what a
after this,
wonderful kind of day. I fucked with
after
Author
this
too.
episode, Andrew's like doing that episode where Arthur punches somebody, but with the 99 problems under
99 Problems.
in black and white.
I love it.
Patrol on the cat patrol. Foes that want to make sure my casket's closed. Rap critics say
I just watched that clip though from that actual moment, and I was like,
Wow.
man, that girl deserved that shit.
Wow.
She
Oh,
deserved,
geez.
man, she deserved that shit. He told her, "Don't touch my little airplane," and she threw that shit out the window. I would punch
Oh,
her
that's
too,
that's
bro.
fucked up. Yeah, that is.
I would punch her too, bro.
Oh, that's
She threw
fucked
his
up.
model airplane out the fucking window and it shattered, man. That's why he hit her ass. Like he fucked around and found out, bro. Like
Oh man.
TW
Yeah.
deserved that shit.
One more note about that is like what you're all saying. I love that perspective is the Kanye beats on this album. They're great. I wouldn't put them in the top 100 Kanye beats he's ever made. Like
No, it's still early Kanye.
yeah, like
Yeah.
especially like I would put like all the Blueprint beats before this, and then I would put and then College Dropout's just right around the corner, and like those beats are so like perfect like this type of beat, and like Encore is like there's kind of like a collage element to it. I'm just like gathering these resources and just like kind of stitching them together, and you could kind of see the seams and the glue and such in that beat. So yeah, that's my thought. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like that gets right into my highlight, if I may. I was gonna say Encore for my highlight just because this is the retirement album, and this is very thematically like dead center. This is the bullet point for the retirement project. But I also just think the quick little break that what would be a bridge in on what is pretty much a single. I'm pretty sure Encore was a single, but that guy been like, I'm gonna need y'all to help me bring him back to the stage. Say Hova, Hova. Like that is I am in the audience. I am there during that part, and nothing gets me more hype to like continue the journey of the album, finish out the song. Everything about Encore, we touched on a little bit earlier, the transition into Encore.
John Legend
Kanye
go,
Productions,
"Ha, ha."
exactly. John Legend before Get Lifted. Before we got there, we got the Encore.
Yeah.
And it's just got that luxurious feel that kind of I guess points to the suit and tie version of Jay-Z that we're about to get, talking about Boeing jets and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah.
it's a good feeling. It's a good
Yeah.
you see the curtains open, you see him step out in that spotlight. Everyone's still there for the show, but it's over,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So
That
I
was
think this just really does that.
it was definitely the beginning of like, because even before then, Jay had always talked about opulence and money and all these type of things, Cristal and all that shit. But 40/40 Club, but it was all rooted in like hip hop. It was hip hop rich, right? And when he started talking about Boeing jets and I'm on the Clearport, I don't fly at the airport, and even on his some of his later tracks, there's a disconnect. We don't call that money over here, or even like we major, like Ye already told you, like that's for minor league hitters. We major, yeah, dude, we gonna fail. That's because we in. He was like saying, like, I am about to go to a different fucking league that no other hip hop artist has ever been in. Like,
Madison Square Garden is the other
that was the
context
first
of
one.
this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
first
the
one.
idea of that wasn't even fathomable during Tupac Biggie time. And then like so it's a song written for that in mind, celebrating the fact that he did it also. And then like now it's stadium status, like meant for like oh yeah, of course you put this at the end as the encore song. Like of course you
Yeah.
do that, yeah.
And just think about that, dude. Like, to that point, no hip hop artist had ever played Madison Square Garden. And now, like, these motherfuckers are playing like SoFi Stadium. And like they're playing arenas, bro. Like
The Coachellas
they're
and all.
playing like places where you get 70 to 100,000 people in it. And like 2004 was the first ever album to have a song at the Garden,
Mm,
the Mecca. Like they
right.
call it the Mecca for a fucking reason. And hip hop started in New York, like in 2004. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. It's dope. I mean, it's really dope. But like, yeah, it just also shows you how young hip hop is.
Mhm.
Like we were all alive for the first ever hip hop concert in Madison Square Garden. That's insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
Wow.
That's insane, bro.
Wow.
Another highlight for the album. I mean, look, we've already talked about 99 Problems, which is definitely a highlight for me. So we don't have to talk about it too much
Yeah, but a little
more.
bit. Yeah.
Sorry, we talked about public service announcement. I told y'all at the beginning of this,
Oh
I
yeah.
smoked before I came on here, so I'm high. Uh, we talked about public service announcement, which is another one for me. I like 99 Problems. I like 99 Problems because, like, at least to me, in 2003, again, I was 16, 17 years old at that point. In my hip hop journey, like it was a different type of song than I had ever heard before, especially a lot to do with the beat, like it was a Rick Rubin track, so very rock and roll, metally based, which at that point, hip hop was not. Hip hop was more producer based. Even though Rick Rubin did produce it, but like it sounded like a track. You have Run DMC and Aerosmith and stuff like that. So like, but that was a little bit before my time. So even when I would hear like Walk This Way or whatever it was called, like it still sounded like a relic, like it still was like a era of hip hop right before me. So like 99 Problems was like sonically different to me. And just like it gave like a really good insight on one of what I think is Jay-Z's most underrated skills is his storytelling in such a
Mhm.
fun way. Like that second verse, it's just like
I
you
love
was
it.
going
Yeah.
55 into 54, license and
Watch
registration,
it.
please establish the like just and then the way you saw him like record that in Fade to Black, how he kept going back and
That's so
forth with
sick. Yeah.
himself, and then like it produced one of my favorite ever hip hop lines. It's like, the type, loud as a motorbike, but wouldn't bust a grape in the fruit fight. Like, that is one of my favorite hip
Um,
hop lines of all time, bro. So 99 Problems is definitely a highlight for me. It was just such a different track, and it was one of those first times, at least for me, because before that you have um yeah, hip hop would R&B would mix up, or singers, and like I said, the Run DMC Aerosmith was very big at the moment because it was something that had never been done. But like a true rock and roll dude making a track with like a hip hop artist was something that like I hadn't seen yet on the south side of Chicago, and I was like, oh, interesting. Like rap can be bigger than hip hop. Like like
hmm.
rap can be like music.
Like
Um,
transcendent and
it can
cross
cross over.
cultural, yeah,
It can
in a
cross
way that
over.
it's not about like it's less about the selling and more about the connectivity between people and like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
energies.
which is why the Linkin Park Jay-Z album works so well.
Exactly.
Like this is why they did that shit. Where it's like, oh yeah, hip hop and rock and roll. Yeah, we can do that. This was one of those first times where I was like, oh, interesting. That can happen. Bet.
Hmm.
So doesn't get enough credit, I think, for
It
what
still
it
sounds
accomplished.
strange and weird today. Like it's still I don't
It
I know like
does.
this is the
It
one
does.
song like I kind of knew of, but when I listened to
Yeah.
it for this, I'm like, this is like the craziest beat. Like this is so wild. Like
It is a
Mhm.
beat that you normally do not get on a hip hop album. Even still today, like you said, it allowed for a pretty cool crossover, but like it still just sounds so sonically different than anything you have heard. Or not anything,
Like
but a lot
almost
of things.
genreless.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very weird in that way. So yeah, I
and
fuck
it's
with 99 Problems.
like Rick Rubin describes this beat as like three samples fighting each other, and that's such a sick way to like view it. But it never is like muddy. It's never like the drums like kind of like the sample the guitar drops out at the perfect time, and the drums just like accentuate him riding the flow in such an awesome way. I
Hmm.
love this song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if anything, it's like perfectly timed solos. We would talk about those samples. They're
Mhm.
not in
Yeah.
competition. They're in concert.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The one line I want to just shout out on this like or just one point about the song is like the idea that like he's pointing out that crit. So when I first heard this song, I thought it was gonna be about like women, and so because like the hook is like about like I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. But he talks about the 99 problems, and the 99 problems are about radio stations want to use his blackness to sell ads, police racially profiling him, paparazzi bothering him, and it's like all part of the white supremacist problem. And like the white supremacists try to send 99 problems at him to get him to lose his cool, but he's cool as a cucumber, and he's just like rises above it, and like he knows how to move in a room full of vultures and such. And I think it's awesome. Yeah. And the 99 problems don't work against him also. And he doesn't have a bitch who's bothering him.
The only thing I don't know if I believe on this track is if he gonna beat that case. If the truck is raw.
Yeah. He was like, I got a few dollars. I can beat the case. I was like, all right, bro. And that's a true story too, which is even more crazier. Like
Wow.
that. Oh, you didn't know that? Did they not talk
I
about
didn't
that in the? I haven't seen Fade to Black. I know you asked me to watch it before this. I apologize. I did not watch it
I don't know.
fully.
I just watched the making of sections. I didn't watch
Okay.
He's talked about it, but he didn't talk about it on Fade the Black.
Okay. So yeah, he didn't talk about it on that, but yeah, that second verse is inspired by something that actually happened to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where like the only reason the cop got called away is because they got called away on something else because the dogs were coming. And he said, like, I think he has even said in the interview, he was like, if they would have came, I would have been cooked. I think he's like said that. Like, uh, isn't that funny though, man? Like that one, you could just talk about that shit afterwards. Like, yeah, man, remember when you pulled me over 10 years ago? Yeah, man, I had about 8 pounds of cocaine in my car, bro. And you can't do nothing, which I think is dope. But also just like how close like so many of these like early hip hop artists were from just never being fucking heard or seen, like ever. Like he would have
Yeah.
went to jail for years
Yeah.
if somebody else in dusty old New York wasn't causing trouble. If a cop wouldn't have
Yeah.
got called away, he would have gone to jail for years, bro. Years.
Well, this is partly why we're obsessed with celebrities, because there's so many like moments where they couldn't have made it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
Jay on that December 4th has a line where he says, "This is the life I chose, or rather the life that chose me." And
Yeah.
we talked about like I think it was I forgot how many bullets missed him. Divine intervention. Like he's had so many near moments, right? Or moments where things could have gone left, and then all of a sudden you don't get what we got. And you're right, like in hip hop, you hear a lot about it, but I think in music and in celebrity, like so many people will say, "Oh, well, I was at the right place at the right time, and it just happened to work out in that moment." But leading up to it, there's all of this work that gets done that we don't get to see. Like we're talking about Chaperone in one of our episodes, and like Chaperone had that experience too, right? It's like, well, she was dropped, like she was done, and then somehow, some way, like she broke through later on, right? So it's cool that whenever we get like a peek into that, it just amplifies the story. And in fact, like you said, Jacquis, like that, this story is a real story, makes 99 Problems that much better, because you're like, oh shit, like that's a real problem with real consequences that you
Yeah.
dodged.
Yeah. You're on mute, Andrew.
Oh, I want to talk about a Moment of Clarity. We've been talking for a while. Like I want to shout out Moment of Clarity. That's my other highlight of the album.
Interesting.
Yeah, I especially love the second verse, and like the philosophical question at the center of it. Like I love the
Mm.
first verse, obviously, like the reflection of his father, of just like forgiving his dad. Like it's beautiful. And but the second verse is a really fascinating and kind of very honest um portrait of himself, of like the truthfully, I wanted to rhyme like common sense, but I made 5 mil. I haven't rapped like common sense. And like
Mm.
but those ideas of in his argument that like if he was poor, he couldn't help anybody. Like he couldn't help anybody.
Mm.
And like when you hear it, like that's not a bad argument at all. Like that's a very valid argument. Like, yeah, you can't really help anyone if you can't help yourself. Um, but it's like this like I think this paints a really kind of honest portrait of consumerism and capitalism and why it's so hard to change things, why it's so hard to um like the idea, like I admire, and I think truthfully a lot of people are in America today in 2024 are wearing Che Guevara shirts and gold chains at the same time. Like they admire revolutionaries, but they also live in consumerism. But they also like consumerism is so bad that we might as well pimp it to like to our benefit. We might as well like live in it as much as possible. And like the idea of if you for like for example like third parties, like a lot of like young people ideologically agree with some of that stuff, like wanting an end to genocide, wanting an end to imperialism, wanting reparations. People agree with that, but she has 1% of the vote, and meaning she has 0% chance of winning. So like it's hard to make a change without any backing. But at the same time, if the second you get corporate backing, the second you get a brand deal, the second you get you start to like get a job in government, you are immediately defanged and you can't really change much, and like in the way you'd want to. And like in the show Atlanta, they said like why would they fund their downfall? Why would they like fund like their downfall in that way? So it's like who it's that philosophical question of like should I be Jay-Z or should I be Talib Kweli? Like, who made more of an impact on the world, Jay-Z or Talib? Like Jay-Z did. Who did more harm, Jay-Z or Talib? Potentially Jay-Z. It's like, but like at the same time, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, and he just made a choice. He made
Yeah.
a choice to be Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the part that most of us miss that Jay says here is so the next time you see the homie and his rims spin, just know my mind is working just like them, rims that is. And I think we forget that part. We see the rim spinning and we stop and we go, oh shit, that looks good. So let me just do whatever I can to get those rims spinning. But we forget that there's the other part where you have to keep thinking about how you can flip it. And what Jay does better, he's a hustler, baby, right? So he knows how to like sell water to a well. And so he will take a situation where he's telling people, I want to be like Talib, I want to be like Common, but I made 5 million, so I've been rhyme like common sense. But in fact, he is literally after that rhyming like common sense and then telling you all of these codes
Yeah.
that we just stop at the oh shit, he has been rhyming
Yeah.
like common sense, but we forget all of the other stuff of like, fuck perception, go with what makes sense. And
Yeah.
since you know what I'm up against, we as rappers must decide what's more important, right? He's like having this really, like you said, philosophical conversation, but because of the engineering that's done by the music industry, by education, by capitalism, by white supremacy, all the devils that we know about, it's really hard to break through that noise, those walls that are built that prevent many people from continuing that conversation because you're starving and you think like there's only one way out. But it's not just about getting yourself out, because like he said, like I got rich and gave back to them. That's the win-win. Like
Mhm.
he explains so much in this section that shows you how desperate he was to help his people. And
Yeah.
he was really trying to use the system the same way the system used us all this time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's dope, man. I love that point. About, we always talk about that album or that song, like, or that line in
That
the
bar, yeah,
verse
yeah.
where that bar was like, I ain't been rapping like common sense. And how some people will say like, oh man, lyrically Common is dope, and which he is. And then, well, he used to be.
He's my favorite
Um,
rapper of all time.
I mean, listen, like
He's,
Common has, look,
I
he's
like
my
him. I like
Chicago
him.
brother, man.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
I like
Um,
he sold me an iPhone once. That was pretty cool. Like
oh really? That's funny. I love
and a
that.
commercial.
Oh, gotcha. But that line in that verse is this dude rapping so lyrically, like, and so
I love the
he's basically saying like, yeah, man, I don't need to rap like that no more while I'm doing it.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like Steph Curry just saying like, yeah, man, I don't need to shoot threes no more while he's dropping 15 threes on your head in a game.
Yes.
Or say
it's
we
just
don't need to
like,
focus on it. Like this is just a
yeah,
byproduct of
it's a
what I do.
byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
This song is great lyrically. I will say something controversial. It is bottom three on the album for me.
Agreed.
Whoa.
Um,
Agreed.
Interesting.
it's bottom three on the album for me. This, Change Clothes, even though Change Clothes
Agreed.
was fun, sing a single. And Threats is one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
Oh
What?
my
Ah,
God.
I
ah,
hate it.
pew.
I hate it. I hate Threats. I hate Threats.
Cedric's rough on that song. Like it's a lot.
It
It's
killed
not funny. Yeah.
the beginning of that track kills me every time, bro. I just can't do it. I've never like the beginning of that has always pissed me off and it's taken me out of the song. And I just can I've never been able to like that
I
song.
feel
You
like
know-
I
I
felt
don't know
this
why.
way, like listening to this years ago, but like revisiting it really quick.
Maybe I
was like,
need to.
well, maybe this is.
You don't
Maybe
like
I need to like actually listen to because I will lie. I won't
Just-
lie. Even if I listen to this album, I skip this track. So maybe I need to listen to it. Maybe I
Oh,
need to listen to it
no.
again.
You've been meaning to listen to that. It's like you don't like. I wish I was running. George, push the button for the oil in your car. Lift up your hood, then lift up your whole hood like I got oil under it. Like castor oil, like castor Troy. You change your face, or the bullets change all that for you. You don't like that?
Yes. That's.
Nah,
Oh wait,
man.
are you being sarcastic, Andrew?
I
No.
love it. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
is
Andrew.
top tier. I do
love
agree with you about one of the clarity. For me, it feels like this is Jay saying, "Fuck you, Eminem. How dare you out rap me on one of my tracks? I'm gonna take your whack ass beat and just like spit so much lyrical knowledge." But it sounds like a really poor
Laborious.
effort by Eminem to produce
Yeah.
something that isn't. It's such an Eminem track, and it's like
It is such a garbage beat.
it's not a good beat at all. But
It's like
Fine.
garbage
Jay-
beat.
but
don't
Jay
think
kills
it's-
it on it.
I don't think it's garbage, but I do think that it's weighty in a way that is a little bit out of place in the context
Yes.
of the other sounds.
Yes.
Just a little too. It just sinks a little bit in a weird way.
It does. It feels very heavy. And
Yes.
and this
And
and Threats
slow
being
and
back
very
to back
slow.
kills me. It kills
Oh,
me.
no,
Kills me every
Threat.
time.
Oh, Threat. Oh.
I listen. I'll listen to it tonight. I'm gonna listen to Threats again for the first time. I'll let y'all know.
Drop an
I'll let y'all
audio
know.
track.
You gotta get
at
on
the-
it.
like in the
Listen
middle of
to
the
this song.
episode.
I know. This
Yeah,
is terrible. Yeah, I will. I'll listen to it as soon as we finish recording, and I'll like add.
Yes, please.
I'll add like another part to this that you can drop in at the
Yeah,
end of
that'd
this
be fun.
episode.
Yeah,
A little 30-second review of Threats.
that
Thank
sounds
you.
great.
What's what's the third one to you then?
For me,
If-
it's Justify My Thug.
Justify My interesting. I like Justify My Thug.
Is that the low on the lower end of it?
Yeah, I mean, again,
Yeah.
we're saying low lights. Like, I mean, these are all like great tracks, but like for
Yeah,
me,
yeah, sure. Well,
for me, it's a track that doesn't serve Jay as much as the other tracks do.
you're right. I mean, especially with Lucifer and Allure being right after it,
Yes,
and
and PSA
Public
before
and
that.
PSA being right before it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely
It's-
out of the last ones is the one that sticks out.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most.
But
Yeah.
even that one, I would have once again put that in my low lights, but like revisiting it and just like also not thinking about. I think when I first listened to this album, I was so caught up in the interpolation of "Justify My Love" and just couldn't get past it. I was like, this is just unnecessary. But like letting go of the interpolation a little bit and just like letting the track rock and letting the beat rock, it's knocking.
I like Justify My Thug though. I fuck with it. I do fuck
yeah,
with it.
yeah. I mean, I just feel like there must have been a Dre beat somewhere that could have been the West Coast nod beat. You know what I mean? Like I'm shocked that Dre didn't make this album, but Quick did.
Yeah, I will say that like
I agree with that.
it
wholeheartedly.
could be a better beat for sure.
Yeah.
It could be a better beat.
We're in low lights, I guess. So like, I think I love the transition from Lucifer to Allure. Just the one little moment of Allure I don't love is obviously Jovito's Way is like a corny. I don't love that bar. And then like the little percussive note I don't love. Like, personally,
Wait, what?
Absolutely not.
You don't like what again?
It's bombs exploding. We dropping
It's
bombs
so
on this
good.
album.
Oh, interesting. Oh no, man.
It
That's
feels
yeah.
like, just like a radio show, like DJ just doing that. Like it feels a little like amateur. Like
Interesting.
Can't with that.
Wow.
Nah, I fuck with that.
Even
I fuck with
even
that
as
too.
simple as it looks when he's doing it in fade to black, it
Yes.
just is that
Oh,
little bit of touch that just
Yeah. It's
yeah.
very Kanye.
No, it's Pharrell. It's Pharrell. It's
It's
Oh,
very
Pharrell.
that's what I
Pharrell,
meant.
yeah.
It's very that's
Yeah.
what I meant. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
Pharrell. It's very just like I'm just gonna have to yeah, like
Yes.
I fuck with that. I fuck with that.
And to be honest, like for me, like Fade to Black almost like creates such a beautiful visual for some of these tracks. So maybe if I didn't have that in my head,
that's
but
real.
but John, you're right. Like seeing Pharrell going like pow pow, like you're like, yes, Pharrell knows how good that is, and then he acts it out. It just amplifies that sound times a million.
I do love the story behind it. It's sick.
Yeah.
Any stray observations? Anything we haven't talked about that we wanted to shout out?
I mean, we talked a lot. We talked a
Well,
lot about this album.
for
It's a
me,
good one.
a quick low light is, the way we frame the what more can I say into encore. For me, the encore interchange close devalues change clothes
Very
because
stark.
yeah, it's so stark and it's just like, whoa, it's clearly was a single and it was meant to do something, but I don't think it accomplishes it in the album. Like if you
Yeah.
I
remove
thought,
change clothes, it would flow better for
Stanley,
me.
I thought you were a Marvel fan. You're complaining about how stark it is. Like, what do you?
Yeah, well, Stark is he's Doctor Doom now, so
You know
I
what
can
though?
diss him.
Like, I love Encore Change Clothes because it's a little break from the Rocky Godfather vibes. I'm like, if it was like kind of that the whole album, I'd get like I just need a little break. I need a little bounce. Like the bounce back, I like just a little
Well, that's what
Neptune.
that whole middle of the album was. It
Yeah, I
was
like it.
that,
I,
and
I
then
like it.
Dirt Off Your Shoulders, and
Yeah.
like those were the singles. Like
Yeah.
Change Clothes and Dirt Off Your Shoulders were the first two singles off this album.
I could see being
Um,
disappointed by Change Clothes if it was the first single. I'm just like,
it was.
oh,
It
like, is this what
was.
we're gonna get?
Yes.
Like,
It was. Yeah.
yeah, I
It
think that
was
might
it was
taint
the
it a little
first. It
bit.
was definitely the first single, and I remember not liking it. I remember not liking it. And I remember thinking it was like, what a weak track to choose for your first single off such a good album.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Sure, I feel you. Yeah.
but like but coming back to it recently, and listening to it again, it's not a bad song. It is a song that it is a song that Drake would make today, or it is a song that, hip
Yes.
hop artists would make today. And so in that way, it's kind of a little bit before its time. And very, change clothes is very Pharrell. It's
Yeah, that
very,
Pharrell touch,
yeah,
smooth. It's very
yeah.
percussive. The clanging.
I
I don't even
love
know.
the clingy percussion.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
And then for what it's saying too, it is saying like it's time, y'all. Like we have to grow the fuck up. Like he is saying it in that track. Like we have to grow up. Like we got to stop wearing the throwback jerseys. We got to stop, it's okay to wear a suit and tie. Black men, it's okay to get your suit fitted. It's
Yeah.
okay to get your suit tailored. Like for black men who aren't in church at least. Like so it's like it is very much a call, and then also it's just very opulent and about women and like all these type. It's about a lot of shit, but like it is just like yeah, like it's time to like change clothes and change like what we view as what hip hop looks like. I think.
And like that transitions nicely into we're talking about the sequencing Dirt Off Your Shoulders, where he's saying like no more chrome wheels, like and stuff like that, and like we're adults now, and like he get the dirt off your shoulders, and like he's also because he's on a new echelon of hip hop artists and like wealth, he's like stunting his taste. He's like,
Hmm.
just like this thing that like is cultural that's like kind of accepted, like we're not doing that anymore and I'm changing the culture to this. So
Is
Yeah.
is this is it? But in with a 2024 lens, is this also not like a little
Bill
Like,
Cosby,
oh,
like
yeah, like okay, let's put on some suits. Like we're moving from
suits are
All right,
expensive.
Mr.
they're
Buckley,
expensive,
pull
but
your pants up, please.
let's do
Stop
some jeans and some
cursing.
button ups. I know I said it
Yeah.
earlier, but yeah, it's got a little bit of that going
I mean,
on.
yeah, it
If there's a
definitely
low
does.
light, that's a little too preachy in that way, just a little bit.
I don't
I know he's
see
trying to
it. I don't
separate
see it.
himself.
I don't read it as like a preachy thing. I'm just saying he's just saying like I'm this, like more so than like y'all got to do this, otherwise you're not
I mean,
like
but people
yeah.
did it.
hmm
That's the crazy part. Like people did do it
Jacquis,
in a way.
can you give me Bill Cosby doing Donald Trump criticizing people slacking their pants in Puerto
No,
Rico?
no,
No, no, that's not gonna happen.
Political.
no, no, no,
No,
no.
no,
I'm
in
pulling
Puerto
the plug.
Rico,
I'm
in
pulling the
Puerto
plug.
Rico.
I'm pulling the
Okay.
plug on that. Like,
When you do
In
your review of Threat,
Puerto Rico.
say it for later. We'll say it for after
yeah,
I'll
hours.
save it.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
save it.
Preachy
I'll put
wasn't
it.
the right word.
But the last thing I want to say about this little segment is because I would have loved to hear like the encore, like "What the hell are you waiting for?" and then the piano like playing at the end, and it just kind of fading out, and then hearing, "You're not tuned to the motherfucking greatest."
It would be so
oh,
dope.
that'd be so
That would have
That
been
good.
would have
like,
been so
you're kind of
dope.
like, all right, like this is a beautiful ending to this concert that has just
Yeah.
started, and then bam, hits you with "They're Off Your Shoulder" versus the dear, 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 your boy is back. Like, I don't want this boy to be
Yeah.
back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. It
Hmm.
definitely our Dirt Over Your Shoulder would have been so dope after that
Change
song.
That
clothes,
you're right. I
honestly,
feel you on that.
sounds like a bonus track a little bit.
Yes,
Like
it
it would
does.
have been tacked on after
At
my
the
first
end.
song.
Yeah.
It feels like more Neptunes than like um the Allure is like he made a beat for Jay-Z,
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Change clothes is a little more NERD-ish kind
It
of.
sounds
Yeah.
like what the label. It sounds like the label was like, we need a single.
Yeah. It's like what happened
Like,
with
Hovey, baby, we need a single.
yeah.
like
Because even
American.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say American Gangster, the same thing happened with the lead singer, I forget what it was called, but don't you take your time. Anyways, there's a track by Pharrell for Jay that dropped before the album dropped, and then they put it as a bonus because it didn't really fit the sound of the album, American Gangster. So they put it
Yeah.
as a bonus. And for me, Change Clothes, I agree. As a bonus track would be cool. In this album, it kind of gets lost.
It gets lost. Which is just so crazy because it was the first single off the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
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 A stray observation I have um is first, Dirt Off Your Shoulders is one of the best singles. Like, I think uh that like doesn't get you like dancing as much as like some other singles, but Dirt Off Your Shoulders is such a good beat. It's such a good single. Is one of his best singles that is slightly ruined for me because it was the perfect song for those old Nokia ringtones. Like those old, like the like so many of us had that shit. As like it ruins that beat for me. I love that song so fucking much. I love it so much. It's so good. But every time I hear it, I also hear like those 2003, 4 ringtones.
That's funny.
And it is just the perfect like the is
These are the
so
ones where you
perfect.
like saw the commercial and it's like dirt on his shoulder, text, whatever.
Nine
You
eight
can get the
six. You can
download.
get yeah,
Uh,
bro. It was truly like and it sound and that's the thing too. Like other songs they tried to make like ringtones from hip hop, like sounded like kind of cartoony, but like it was upsetting how close it sounded to the actual track. Like it was bad, but it sounded so it's just like it slightly ruins it for me. Which is funny, I think.
The thing like about this beat is like I don't know what's in the orange juice he's drinking in his like little gallon container, but like
Mhm.
his ability to get the most out of his speakers, like
Oh,
there's a jarring like from Change Close to this, like how he's able to like get the most out of his speakers is like night and day. Like, I love Pharrell, by the way. Like, I love that beat too. Like, but just like it's next level. And then like a Nokia ringtone doesn't do it justice.
Oh yeah, it definitely doesn't do it justice. It's just I just heard it so goddamn much. Because
Yeah.
that's right around when cell phones and we were getting ringtones and shit. Man,
Yeah.
it was funny.
My friend helped me download Crash Into Me as my first
Oh,
ringtone because I thought it was cool. I was
That's
a poser.
cute.
Like, that
That's
was
funny.
it's not a good song. It's a fine song, but like whatever. It's a creepy song though. Like, I didn't know it was creepy. So any other share observations? Anything before we get to final thoughts? So I think we've been talking a little extra than we initially intended. So
Appreciate the shout outs on my first song. Just like
hmm
Oh yeah,
beat, beat, beat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just all that stuff. Just
I love that the fact that that song ended with just like a minute and a half of him just like talking.
hmm
yeah.
I think that was dope. Yeah, I think that was really dope.
My favorite little brag was just him going like, "Yeah, Guru, your job's easy because I only do it all in one take too."
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Yeah.
punch in, huh?
It's so funny, it's so great. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I think an underrated aspect of this is like, these albums are created in like a few days. It's this one seems like it was created more time because he was just like going from place to place and like trying to get inspiration. And once he got inspiration, the song was like 80% done. But it feels like a cat like the Jay-Z albums feel like cast recordings where you have to like you're you have like 2 days to like create something, like capture something, but also he's generating it at the same time, like from
Yeah,
scratch, where like these other like cast recordings, the score's been written for years and then like you sing it and like you try to get it in that little amount of time, but like this is
yeah.
just like this perfect capturing lightning in a bottle moment. So
hmm
And even though this album did probably take a little bit longer than his previous albums, especially like The Blueprint, which was in 48 hours or whatever,
wow, crazy.
it still was in less than a year that he put this album out,
hmm
which is like, going to all these places and different people and stuff like that. It was still less than a year off the back of another album. Like, so, like still very quick because like even to by today's standards, like people don't put out albums that quick anymore.
hmm
Or people drop songs and shit, but like to put out an album, like especially hip hop, I feel like we'd be waiting forever for some of these albums to come out. So yeah, yeah, 6 months to put out your retirement album is kind of wild.
And with the previous album being a double disc.
I know,
hmm
bro.
Maybe
Yes,
like two,
Blueprint 2
maybe
was a
too
double
long, but
disc.
it
Blueprint
was a
2. Oh
double
wow.
disc.
Blueprint 2 was a double disc. Yeah.
Oh,
Blueprint 2 was like 30 something songs.
that's
Almost
wild.
40.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been. It should not
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah,
Uh
Jay-Z should have retired from birth. I
if
don't
that if that
know.
was if that was his last album, that would have been like, yeah, bro, that was Huff. That was
Yeah.
trash.
hmm hmm
Uh and it's not even that I've said this. I probably said this on the last one. If Blueprint 2, out of those 38 songs, if you just took 12 to 15 of them, you probably could have the best hip hop album of all time. Because
I would love to yeah, I
there's
want to
some
hear like
great fucking songs on that. And in between those two albums, where even if you just do 12, you could have one of the best. The fact that it's just so bloated that you like can't, you can't have
Send
an
it to us,
appreciation for it.
Jaquise. Curate it for
yeah,
us.
I
I
would love
might,
to
I
I
might
would
do
love
that
to like hear your like because I want to listen to it, but I don't want to listen to a double album. So like, it's
a
like
lot.
that's my thought. Um yeah, like my final like observation, shout out to Sanaa Lathan and Lucifer. He shouts like, love and basketball. Like that's
Yeah.
great. Great movie. I love that movie. Anyways, like let's go through final thoughts and ratings. The way this works is we'll rate this album out of 10 with a fun metric at the end. Who would like to go first?
I can go first. Yeah, for me, this is my favorite Jay-Z album. If this was the last one, it'd be a great way to end it. I'm gonna give this 10 Nokia ringtones that sound like the greatest song of all time, aka Threat. Out of 10. Out of 10.
I'll hop in. Yeah, Black Album, incredible. Love revisiting it. The Avengers. Let's get all the producer Avengers. We're getting everybody, the Infinity Stones to make this thing. Not a ton of lowlights. Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give it 9.5 threats.
No, no.
9.5 threats.
Oh.
Yes,
All
I
right.
love it. I love it.
I love it.
Jacquis, where are you at?
Yeah, man, Black Album is great, man. Black Album is definitely great. It is something too that every time I revisit it, I like remember how great it is. It's one of the beautiful things about hip hop is that, like not every song on every album is gonna be great. And Jay-Z, even though he's my GOAT, like my man has had a lot of clunkers on some of his tracks or some of his albums. But this one definitely has not as many lowlights. Like you said, a lot of highlights. Just the way it was broken down was just so beautifully done and so like sneakily done, in my opinion. Um, it's great. So I think I would give it a 9 out of 5. 9. Unlike me, I've never worked a 9 to 5 in my life. I've never done it. I've never done it in my life. But I've like to put up the no. I give it a 9. I give it a 9.5 threats.
He
9.5.
might be our president. Like, he might,
Hey, listen, if you're listening to
Bill
this
Trump
and you
or
made it this
whatever.
far, you made it this far, tell us who the president is. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're doing this the night before the election.
Yeah, DM us. Yeah, it's like,
It is currently 8:28 Pacific Standard Time where I am on November 4th, 2024.
Mhm.
We are about to start an election day tomorrow. But I'm about to just go into my cryogenic sleep for a week. So when I wake up, I want to wake up to DMs of who won the presidency. So tell me.
Please, yeah.
DM me.
Totally.
DM me, and then so I can, because when Trump went, it could happen, guys. It
Anyways,
could happen.
I
Your
give
next
this-
episode could be very sad, bro.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this album 9 Diddy Weinsteins out of 10.
Oh, no. No.
That's very bad.
Yeah, no. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm gonna give this like I'm gonna give this 9 Cedric the Entertainer like spoken word segments that are very funny out of 10. Like, make me laugh and laugh even though he repeats it. Like he doesn't like add anything funny after like
Come on,
the first
pimps,
one.
just threats. You did your grandpa just threats. Like shut the fuck up. I hate it. I hate it so fucking much. I hate it. But I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it. So
Yeah. He's gonna put a little
I'm
audio
gonna
track,
record.
You know,
I'm gonna put it.
like-
I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna add it.
Yeah,
all
totally.
right?
Yeah, so I love this album. I think it's really great. It's like a perfect unit of Jay-Z, like a brick of Jay-Z, like content. It's like perfect. It's like it tells me what his deal is. It tells me his philosophy. It shows me like a very honest yet imperfect portrait of a man, but like the honesty is what makes it great. And then just like the dexterity and the skill and the fun of just the different like producers at the top of their game, this time capsule, and then also yeah, I think it's great. So yeah, but Common's better. Common's my favorite rapper of all time, like on earth.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's
Not that he's your favorite rapper. That's matter of opinion, but crazy, crazy that you think Common is a better rapper than Jay-Z. Crazy, man, crazy. And I love Common. Me and
I don't
Common
know if
grew
I
up on the
think
same
that.
block.
I don't know if I think that anymore. But I do like him in John Wick 2, so that's great. So yeah, like that was our review of Jay-Z's The Black Album. Jacquis, thank you so much for indulging us. What a
Oh, my
joy, what a
pleasure.
delight.
Pleasure.
For enduring my bad takes. Like,
Next
and then
next time I want to do an album that I would never listen to, like Chappelle. How do you say her name? Chapel Roan.
Chapel
Chapel
Roan. Oh
Roan.
shit, we would love to have you on a pop album. Yeah,
I'll
Mhm.
never listen to it.
Listen to it.
listen to it.
It's so good. Listen to it.
That's what I'm saying. I would
Because
love to do it
Jay-Z's
for something
like
like
your
this.
favorite rapper's favorite rapper, and she's your favorite artist's favorite artist. Like,
I don't think,
But
I
listen,
think that's a lie. I
listen to
think that's a
thread
lie.
between every song of Chaperone's album. You love it even more. Okay.
I love
It's
Chapel
like
Roan.
compared to Threat, this shit is a masterpiece.
Yeah, we would love it.
Pink
Yeah.
pouty threats.
Yeah.
Pink pony threads.
Crazy. I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen. I want to listen to an album like that I wouldn't normally listen to. And
Yeah,
I'm a very eclectic music listener too. So
love it.
but there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few that slip through the cracks.
yeah. Yeah. I think also we would love to I think to conclude our Jay-Z talk, like maybe one day talk about 444. Like that'd be
Oh
cool.
yeah, let's do it.
Like or what? Okay, so like
I love
say
444.
say like I'm on my Jay-Z journey. I listen to Blueprints. I like 444. I like this one. What would you say I should check out next? Volume 3?
No
Like
doubt.
Out of his albums?
yeah.
Hmm. And you don't want to listen to all of them, is what you're saying.
No, just like next. Like literally just
Next,
Like what would
listen to next. Interesting. You've never listened to Reasonable Doubt?
No, I do like the Biggie song though. That's pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see you probably not loving Reasonable Doubt though.
But that's the answer, though. That is the answer.
Is
That
the
is that because
answer.
that would be the answer. I think would be go listen to Reasonable Doubt, but it is just
I
so
probably like
starkly
some of it,
different.
like I'd probably like it. Yeah,
You
on
like
some
you probably
yeah.
would. I would say listen to Reasonable Doubt. It is it's a classic album. It is just so starkly different from anything you will. It is definitely Jay-Z's first album, but it's such a good album. Like Feeling It is still one of my favorite songs of all time. Like it's just it's a great album. It's a great
But
fucking
Andrew,
album.
you haven't heard Blueprint 3?
No.
I was
Oh,
gonna say that. I was gonna
yeah,
say
that's the
Blueprint
one.
3 too, because I was gonna say I feel like you wouldn't like Reasonable Doubt as
Y-
much, but you might like Blueprint 3 better.
Okay.
Even though
Yeah.
Blueprint 3 got a couple clunkers on it, but
Yes.
but
Okay,
overall, that has some great fucking tracks on it.
Yeah.
Like
as well.
Already Home for me is one of my favorite Jay-Z songs of all time.
Oh.
Hmm.
Already done. I'm already. I love that song.
Yeah, Blueprint 3, I think
So
you would like it.
Ambitious. Love So
Yeah,
Ambitious
so
too.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
another great Pharrell track. Yeah.
Yeah. Blueprint 3, I think you would really like. So I would say those are your next two if you
Got it,
need
got
to
it.
listen to.
Yeah,
anything.
Andrew would definitely like Blueprint 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
so also
Triple
is
cosign.
Magna Carta Holy Grail in your Marvel
All
comparison?
right.
No, hold on. Is Magna Carta Holy Grail in your Marvel comparison like Ant-Man 3? Something like that? Just like
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No, that's Kingdom
It's
Come.
not that bad.
That's Kingdom
Yeah.
Come.
Okay.
No.
Kingdom Come got some hits on it though. It's just it's only half good. That's the problem.
Like Magna Carta is kind of like Thor. It's like, okay, like it was cool. It wasn't great. There's some good moments, but it's not
Yeah.
Thor 2, right? It's not Thor 2, and it's not Thor 3. Like it's not Ragnarok, right? It's not that
Yeah.
fun. It's just cool.
Magnum
Okay.
Carter has some good tracks. I love the Torque Miley Torque. Like Somewhere
Yeah,
in
it's
America,
hilarious.
like it
Why
has
do you
some
say
great
that?
tracks on it. It has
It's
some great tracks
hilarious.
on it. That when I listened to it again, I just recently listened to Magnum Carter, and I
That's
hadn't listened to
the
it in a while.
Timbaland primarily his album, right? Or is it?
Yeah, I think
I
Tim
think
did most
so.
of the production on that. I
That's
think
kind of fun.
Yeah, it didn't hold up as
That sounds
much.
interesting. Like I don't know.
it's not that good though. There's a lot of skips.
It didn't hold up as much. Like I used to really love Magnum Carter, and then I listened to it recently. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
not holding up as much as I remember.
Is Magnum Carta the porn parody of the album?
Oh, no.
Yeah, Magnum Carter, baby.
No, it's the extended version. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where all the good songs are, man. That's all
Yeah,
the good
yeah.
songs.
Yeah, those
So
songs
good.
slap. They slap.
You can't.
I'm
you can't
seeing
fit
this
it.
seeing this album called Best of Both Worlds. Huh.
Don't.
Delete.
All right, bye.
It
Anyways,
sucks.
you can follow the show at
Fuck you,
IDMT.
fuck you, Kelly. You fucked up a good album for us. Can't listen to that no more.
Best of both worlds. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Anyways, you can follow the show at IBMTLTT on all platforms. You could, follow Stenley at Snap a Stens, John at Jon Butts is here. Jacquis, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Jacquis Neal on
Yeah,
everything.
any plugs, anything you want to put out?
Not too much. Comedian Feud. I do a show called Comedian Feud. Check that out. It has its own Instagram. We're growing that page, but we live streaming now as well.
Whoa! I gotta check that out.
So yeah, we live stream it. And it's going to be live streamed every time we do it. We're
Fun.
starting to hit the road. We just did one in Chicago. We're doing some in
What?
San Francisco in
Oh, fuck, I missed
January.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We did one in Chicago in August.
Huh.
And we got some really dope people coming in 2025 too. Kevin Smith.
Whoa,
A
shit.
lot of dope people. So check it out. Check it
Oh,
out.
that's so awesome. Check out old episodes of Culture Kings. Like if you could remember to check that out. Maybe they'll drop in the future.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows?
We're dropping on the same day. This is the Kanye 50 Cent battle.
We're selling this album at Target. All the Culture King CDs are sold. Are like taken. Like, oh man. Yeah, this episode's called Curtis. Anyways, you can follow. Yeah. What else is there? Oh yeah. Megan Ricky Young did our artwork. OTNES did our theme song. Follow us on Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon. We're doing I've Been Meaning to Watch That, where we're not covering Back to Black or whatever it's called. And thank you so much, Jacquis. Any final words? Any final thoughts before we conclude?
I'm about to go listen to Threats.
Yeah, he's gonna send a voice note and put it in the episode. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. Click.
I've listened to the song Threats. I listened to it from front to back. First time I had done that in a very long time. I listened to it with an open heart. Everybody, they were like, "What? You don't like Threats?" I've done it. I've listened to it. And here's what I have to say. Trash.